come out with. So I feel like this is the final storyline where Brooke is going to stop feeling like a mascot and start feeling like a real fucking character. All right, everybody, how we doing? All right, I was just wrapping up the podcast for the week. All Yonko members can look forward to that coming out tomorrow. I am excited. We're going to be reacting to 2 episodes today. Oh, shit, sorry. One second. We're going to be reacting to 11:29 and 11:30. 11:29 and 11:30. Do I like the chair up or down? I think this might be fine. This could be okay. All right. Did I change the time? Yeah. Time was changed, but that was changed a while back. Don't worry about that. Let me send this shit over. 15 points. No, the time has been 7:15. Don't even worry about that. Let me send this shit. All right. There we go. All right, everybody. So, I don't know how good these episodes are. I know that people hyped up 11:29. I'm down to watch both. I was thinking at one point I would just watch all Kuma's backstory all in one go, but I feel like I want to react to the Ginny episode. I think I told you guys this before. I want to react to the Ginny episode individually, and so that means I probably am not going to get to react to everything all in one go. So we're just going to commit. We're going to watch it in batches. I think watching it in batches, I'll enjoy. Strict thing for this. Strict rule. I know some of the spoilers are out. We're not going to talk about them. We're not going to talk about those spoilers. I know some of the spoilers are out. We're just gonna ride it out. Okay. Yeah, the 11:50 spoilers dropped early. I will say I think there's a bit of a trend where like the more hyped the chapter is, the more likely the spoilers come out early. And so that's why with this chapter, we have the spoilers out literally, I think spoilers generally, we get little bits and pieces on Tuesday. But this, I feel like we got a hefty chunk of information just all in one, straight up just now, just today, right? No, I changed it a while back. Leave me be. Also, as a nice reason, okay? A reason, I don't know, like explanation. Little bit of leeway on the time today because we got our dog Harley neutered this Saturday. And so he has required some extra care because he is a difficult dog to manage when you've got a dog who needs to have like 2 things of pain medication and then 3 things of anti-anxiety pills every 12 hours. And this is a dog that hates being made to like eat anything that he doesn't want to eat. It's been a pain in the ass. On the flip side, you guys know Harley's normally a very rambunctious dog because you guys hear him barking a lot during streams and everything. But it's been nice having him in a very docile, groggy mode, but it's already kind of starting to wear off. It's funny because like he has no energy whatsoever and he just wants to lie down and rest all the time. But suddenly when it's time for him to take his pills, he gets like this burst of willpower where he's just like, I'm not doing this no matter what. You guys can't make me. I don't trust it. I don't trust it. I don't agree with it. I don't accept it. It's been a huge thing. Put it in peanut butter. No. Put it in cheese. That worked a little. That's the thing. It works like once in a while, but then we have to do new tricks because then after that he was like, I don't want the cheese anymore. So it's like, okay, we have these pill pockets where you can put it in chicken. And then he's like, okay, I like these. But then the next time he's like, I don't like him anymore. So then we have to do, it's just been a whole thing. And also, one of the things is part of the reason we neutered him, aside from the reason that you should just get your dogs fixed and everything so that they play better with other dogs, it's to help with a bit of his aggression because Harley is off the streets. So he's a street dog. So he's normally a very, very, very sweet dog and everything like that. Like very, very sweet, very, very gentle. But he does have like still a little bit of just like animal instinct that has not gone away. So like if he gets into a situation, if he feels like he's being controlled a little bit too much, or like there's something that he really doesn't want to do, he will suddenly nip. Our other dog, Casey, does not do that. She's the sweetest dog. But he will suddenly nip. And we were told that neutering him will help cut out that aggression. Turns out it did not do that whatsoever, because even when he is under anesthesia, like groggy as fuck, under 5 tons of pain medication, post-surgery, tired as hell, barely knows where he is, super disoriented or whatever, no balls anymore, so all the testosterone, all of that stuff should be gone. Even then, if you try to get him to do something he doesn't want to do, like take a pill or something like that, or lift him in a certain way, he will still nip. So I was just like, what the fuck was the point of this surgery? Because he's still fucking aggressive. He's not aggressive. He's like, that's not fair, because he's really not aggressive. He's really, really sweet and docile, and he can kind of be a scaredy dog lots of times. He gets scared of a lot of things. But it's just like, it's almost like it's automatic. So like, if he really, he feels bad as soon as he does it too. But if he thinks that we think that he probably experienced some things when he was out on the streets or with his previous owners who may have been a little bit abusive or whatever. We think he may have experienced certain things that made him have certain tendencies. Like he'll suddenly nip out of the blue when normally he's like very sweet, very cuddly, very gentle, very soft and everything like that. So that was something we hoped would go away with the neutering, but it did not. It is what it is. That's something new too, because my old dog Paco, who you guys have seen in much earlier Morge videos and stuff, he never had like a nipping sort of thing. Like we had him since he was a puppy and everything like that. So you could kind of do whatever you wanted to him. He was mean to strangers. He would bark and like try and like be aggressive towards strangers. But with us, like you could just pick him up. You could like open up his jaws. You could fish around, put food in there or whatever, anything. Casey, same thing. She's very sweet. We'll let you do whatever you want with her. Harley, he's got like an imaginary line, and you don't know exactly where that line is, but suddenly like something will come out, and it's just like instinctive, automatic. He doesn't even think about it. He'll just nip, and then after that he'll look really bad, like sad, like I'm sorry I did that, I didn't mean to. But it's like, well now we can't fucking feed you. Anyway, enough talking about my dog, unless you guys have more questions. Otherworld JT, thanks for the 5. Time moved differently on Elbaf. No cutaways since the arc started, and even though Holy Knights just arrived, Mary-Jo suddenly on fire. Emu asks what's taking them so long too, right? Yeah, I don't know though, because like the tricky thing is like, I think I even tried to play this game at one point, which was like, went through, looked at like certain timelines of, like you can literally look at what Loki's official age is, right? One Piece, you can look at certain official ages and they line up. Like you can see, let's see, Hajruden's age, right? Hajruden age 81. Like that tracks, considering we saw Big Mom's backstory. That tracks. Loki is 63, right? That tracks, considering Big Mom's backstory took place that long ago. Like everything about Elbaf so far and the ages, unless Oda's lying to us about the ages, but I don't know about that. But it does seem all accurate so far. It does seem correct. So I don't know if there's some secret thing with the ages or anything or like time or anything. Because Holy Knights arrived, Mary-Jo suddenly on fire. I don't think that's that weird, because like it could literally have just been that the drag, like if anything, it's possible that the revolutionaries, assuming it's the revolutionaries, launched their assaults when they felt that the God's Knights were away or something, or when they felt like Mary-Jo's forces might be a little depleted because they're out on missions. So I think that actually tracks. Second, Emo saying what's taking them so long. He might have just expected that they'd be done with all this right now, because it's possible that this invasion's been going on for like an hour or something like that. And Emo's expectation is just that like the God's Knights are strong enough that they'd already have shit under control. Because remember, if you think about it, this all should have been over much faster, right? Because the two factors that they didn't know would be there are Skopper Gaban and the entire Straw Hat, like a whole Yonko crew, right? So from their perspective, from Emu's perspective, it's like, I'm just sending the God's Knights over to quickly take care of these like Elbaf giants or whatever, which they should be able to do very easily, right? The God's Knights come over, they basically are running roughshod across all of Elbaf, fucking up all the giants or whatever. But where they're running into problems, because they're having to deal with the Strahd pirates. And then Scopper Gaban fucked them up just now, right? So it just from what we've seen, the God's Knights have run into issues that are prolonging this situation past where Emu would logically have expected, had the God's Knights not had to face, Scopper Gaban and the Strahds. You see what I'm saying? They didn't expect Luffy. Yeah, like, they didn't expect Luffy, and they didn't expect Scopper, you know? Let's get stream likes up to 50 real quick. Elijah Petty, thanks for the 5. Theory, Mihawk became the greatest swordsman by default after Shanks lost his dominant arm, so trading Zoro is his way of finally earning the title. I disagree with that theory, because then it's just like, then Zoro's whole dream just doesn't mean jack shit, because it's like, he's not going to be fighting Shanks for the title, he's going to be fighting Mihawk for the title, right? So Mihawk needs to actually be the world's strongest swordsman for Zoro's dream to have meaning. Javon Johnson, thanks for the 5. Yo, Morge, what was your favorite stretch of time being a One Piece fan? Mine was in 2023 when the manga, anime, and live action were all super hype at the same time. My favorite stretch of time being a One Piece fan would probably have been early in my... I think it would have been probably... You know what? I know what it is. I think my favorite stretch of time being a One Piece fan was probably my senior year of college. I believe, I want to say maybe Whole Cake was going on at that point in time. I think maybe, yeah, I want to say maybe Whole Cake was going on, or date of each One Piece chapter release in Viz. So 2016 to 2017. Not Viz, in Shonen Jump. Let's see. Date of each One Piece chapter release in Shonen Jump. How do I see this? How do I see the date of every chapter release? What was releasing in like 2016, like end of 2016, for example? Let's see. One Piece Clay Stage. Chapter schedule. One Piece chapter release schedule. Let's see. So 2016, it looks like... Yeah, towards the end of 2016, it seems like... Okay, so yeah, we were in Whole Cake. Yeah, I think that was my favorite period. I think once content Okay. You guys got to understand. All right? Let me share with you. Okay, first of all, ever since being a One Piece content creator became like a full-time thing for me, I cannot say that this has been my favorite time to be a One Piece fan. This is the time that I'm most immersed in the series by far, and I'm most like, I think about the series the most, I am going back to reread things the most, I'm like most into the series, I guess you would say, overall. But this can never be my favorite period of time because I'm not able to purely just sit back and just purely just enjoy the series like without any sort of like additional like it's just not the same when you're also like when it's also your job. It's just not the same when it's also your job. This is the time that I'm most connected to One Piece and most like, yeah, into the series, immersed in the series, all of that stuff. But it's just not the same when it's like I have to talk about it all the time, if that makes sense. Because like if I were to go back, I think a lot of it changed when I became full-time content creator also. Because if I were to go back, then like there was a time like when I was early on becoming a One Piece content creator that I would love talking One Piece with other people. Absolutely love talking One Piece with other people. I had very few people in real life who were also One Piece friends. So I was really happy when I got my friend to catch up on One Piece and everything like that, and I could talk to him about it. I love talking to other One Piece content creators and everything like that in collabs. But then slowly, as it becomes like what I'm talking about all the time, I still love One Piece. I probably love One Piece now more than ever, just because like it's so, it makes up so much more of my life. But at the same time, it's not. I'm not able to just relax and enjoy the series in a sense, right? Like, there was a period of time, like, how to explain this? Even because I have to be in tune with everything One Piece. So certain things I love to do before that I'm not allowed to do now are, one, let chapters accumulate. There would be times that I would let just like several weeks worth of chapters accumulate so that then I could really sit down and just enjoy a nice binge. I loved doing that. Two, I can't stay out of. It is hard for me to go unspoiled. That's a thing, and I've stopped trying to go unspoiled as much too. That's become a thing also, just because I've realized over time that sometimes like getting a hint of what's happening next chapter also allows me to start thinking earlier on of like what the next video is going to be, right? It lets me think more about what the next video is going to be. It gives more time to think about like thumbnail possibilities and stuff like that. But I preferred back when I never once had to look at a spoiler, right? I don't have to look at spoilers technically, but it is difficult to like truly mute all One Piece anything on Twitter and on YouTube. Like I get I get comments and stuff like that. So it is a little bit difficult to just tune out all of that. So it's a little bit hard to avoid spoilers now. And I've slowly just started to like, it's kind of like a drip. Like early on I'd be like, never want to see spoilers. Then it's like, okay, see spoilers once in a while. It's not the worst thing in the world. At least it gives me an idea for like what I want to make the next video. And now like the drip has turned into a bit of like a flow where it's like, I don't actively seek out spoilers, but if they come across my timeline or whatever, then I don't like really push myself to not look at them or something like that, right? So that's the second thing. And then the third thing is just like, so much One Piece discussion is so toxic. And like, I think when I was a fan earlier, I could stay out of a lot of that discussion. Or if I did engage in it, it would really just be through like the One Piece Reddit. Because I did really love going on the One Piece Reddit and just talking and sharing ideas and stuff like that. The One Piece Reddit is not as toxic as like One Piece YouTube or One Piece Twitter. Because that's where like agenda stuff really takes over. There's of course power scaling discussions on the Reddit, but it doesn't get as heated, at least from what I recall. I don't use the One Piece Reddit as much now, just because I talk about One Piece all the time. So like I almost never feel like going to Reddit and then also looking at One Piece posts or whatever. But back in the day, like before I was a One Piece content creator, I would love going on Reddit and like debating. I would debate Zoro Sanji. I would debate like all sorts of things, like Admirals versus Yacht. Like I would love doing that too. But on Twitter and YouTube, it's like hateful. It's like genuinely really, really hateful. And it's weird. It's like really weirdly hateful. And it's hard to not be in... it's hard to just separate from that entirely, because at the same time, I need to kind of in some way, like be a little bit active on One Piece social media forums a little bit, because I need to see what people want to talk about, you know? Because sometimes a chapter will come out and I'm like, I kind of want to talk about this, but it seems like everybody else wants to talk about this thing. And this is the main point of discussion, debate, or interest or whatever. So I'm going to talk about this, right? So, yeah. Yeah, it's just, I think those are the three things that kind of changed that make me enjoy being a One Piece fan less now than, like, if I were to describe to you, like, my favorite time to be a One Piece fan, definitely senior year of college, right? Full story is I'd been planning to do, because I like movies a lot, so I was planning on making like a movie YouTube channel. That was my plan. I wanted to make a film YouTube channel after I wanted to do it while I was still in senior year of college, but I kicked it or whatever. And so eventually it was like looking at graduation and I hadn't started yet, right? But over the course of senior year of college, I just found myself rereading One Piece a lot. I think that was when I discovered the colored manga version of One Piece, so I really, really wanted to reread it around then. And I think that over the course of that time, maybe that's also partly why I kicked the movie channel, because I started to change my mind. I was like, I really want to make like a One Piece channel, because that was when I was probably most active on the One Piece Reddit, and I was just like, there's so much better like One Piece analysis that can be done than like these random Reddit posts. That was what I was thinking. I was just like, I really want to like explain why this series is so great. I really want to do that. So my mind changed over the course of senior year of college to basically be like, I want to make like a One Piece YouTube channel instead of a movie YouTube channel. So like my One Piece YouTube channel started as soon as I left college, 2017. I started putting out like little analysis videos or whatever. Yeah, and during that period, let me paint you a little picture of me in senior year of college. Okay, here's a little picture of me in senior year of college. Okay, senior year of college, I bummed my way through college. Okay, no sense of responsibilities, no sense of like, oh, I need to keep a certain GPA, because I was like, I'm gonna pass with a degree. Like, there's no worry about me passing, so I'm just not gonna do homework. Didn't show up to any classes that I could get away with not showing up for. Even classes that did take participation points, I would often just take the hit on participation. I became more of a bum over the course of college. By the time I hit senior year of college, there was only one thing that I did that I really put like effort into, and that was mock trial. That wasn't academic. School-wise, I was just like, fuck this shit. I know I'm going to pass. I can just always do the bare minimum I need to pass, so I'll be out of here. This is my last year of like vacation before real life starts. I really threw away college education. Do not be like me in college, but this is what it was, okay? And around that time, I was getting more into watching anime, more into watching manga, and I was smoking at that point almost every single day. I won't say every day, but like close to every day, okay? So this is peak like relaxation, freedom, a time in my life that I'll never have again, okay? My favorite activity over the course of senior year of college became getting super fucking high and going to reread the One Piece colored manga, like my favorite arcs in colored manga. That was like my favorite mode of relaxation. And my roommates didn't even really know I was into like anime or manga much at that point in time. So like I would just disappear for like this was also the year that I got one of my roommates to start watching anime and manga, specifically One Piece. So that was a big win. So then I was able to be a bit more open, because like now it's just not me that's like an anime manga fan. Now it's like me and this other roommate who have gotten into it. So now we could just watch it freely on the living room TV. And my other two roommates would be like, this is some weird Japanese shit, but that's okay. And I'd be like, you guys just don't worry about this. This is okay. But before that, I had to hide I was a big One Piece fan. So at least for like the first part of senior year of college, like maybe the first semester, my favorite thing would just be like getting super high, holding up in my room for like a full day, and just like be on a One Piece binge. And that was just like my favorite relaxation mode, favorite thing to do. It was great. Those were like genuinely, I'm actually fucking sad thinking I could never do that again. I think in life, until I'm like old and retired, there's probably never going to be a time that I can just do that again. Just spend days just doing that. I think that that's just not going to be a thing. But man, I was like, you could catch me on a Wednesday, senior year of college. I'm supposed to be in class. I've skipped all 3 classes that day. I'm high as fuck from morning to night, just rereading, I don't know, like East Blue in color or something like that. I think that's an exaggeration. I don't think I was that bad that I would like smoke from the morning. It would depend on the day. It would definitely depend on the day. I would try not to do it just right off the bat from morning. I think I would try and do a little bit more balance than that. But some days I would just do that. I'd be like, this is a fuck it day. It's just the way it was. To be fair, I was not in the best environment. The same friend that I got into anime and manga, he was also my stoner friend. My other 2 roommates, both engineers, both had to be locked in all throughout college. They did not smoke. But my stoner friend was a fucking journalism major. So he had the easy life. He basically could smoke all day with 0 consequences. And I got him into anime and manga around that time. And it like if I walk in to the living room and I see him smoking while watching like One Piece or whatever, I'm gonna fucking sit down and smoke and watch One Piece. And then I'm probably gonna go back to my room and smoke and read One Piece. It was just, that was my ideal time. I would smoke, read the One Piece colored manga, go on Reddit, argue with people about like One Piece stuff or whatever. Yeah, it was great. That was the life. That will never come back. I didn't use Twitter. I didn't have a Twitter account back then. I created Twitter for the YouTube channel, and then I made the mistake of accidentally actually getting involved in like Twitter discussions and Twitter debates. Absolutely should never have fucking gotten Twitter as an app. Terrible fucking app. Yeah, just we experiencing lag? No, we're good. We're good. Yeah, it was just good. Yeah, this was just peak relaxation time. Man, yeah, that was a great time. That was a great era. I can never get that era back. You guys have made me so sad. Anyway, yeah, that's the best time to be a One Piece fan, right? You got somebody else into a One Piece anime, so could sit down in the living room, smoke, watch that, get to see them experience like Sabaody, Impel Down, Marineford, all that shit, right? I myself smoke, watch in my room, full day at a time or whatever, just rereading One Piece colored version, super high, reading Oda's art while high in color, amazing experience. On Reddit, arguing One Piece, but not in like a toxic sort of way. It's wholesome One Piece content, a lot of wholesome One Piece content mixed with discussion, debates. You post your theories, all sorts of stuff, right? No Twitter, no YouTube. I never watched One Piece YouTube content creators. Believe it or not, I genuinely did not know anything about the One Piece YouTube scene at that point in time. Like, never knew anything about the One Piece YouTube scene until I started posting YouTube videos myself. Once I started posting YouTube videos myself, I just went with the assumption that other people probably are not doing One Piece analysis content because I'd never heard of that. So I started posting it. And I was basically the first person on the scene to be a One Piece channel that's regularly posting analysis content. So even though like my thumbnails and my editing was really bad, I still grew a user base. That wouldn't work today. Nowadays, you need everything polished, and there's a lot of One Piece analysis channels. But back in the day, you could just do, like, I was just the first mover on the scene. And then only after I'd done like YouTube for like a couple months or something did I slowly begin to realize that there's other people doing One Piece YouTube stuff, but I noticed that none of them were doing the type of content I was doing. It was mostly reaction based or like Tekking's fun videos or something like that. I watched a lot of Tekking after I actually started learning how other One Piece YouTubers did things. Tekking was like what I watched when I would eat lunch and stuff like that. Yeah. So it was just wholesome. Like, senior year of college, as I said, best things were basically One Piece colored manga, discovered that, smoking a lot of free time, got to re-experience the One Piece anime through my friend's eyes, and then on top of that, just the fact that I didn't know anything about like One Piece Twitter or One Piece YouTube where all the toxicity exists. One Piece Reddit was really fun to discuss One Piece with other people. That was the golden era of me being a One Piece fan. And I think that all changed slowly over time as it became more and more of like what I have to live and breathe for work all the time. Does that make sense? Anyway, long explanation over. Continuing on here. Let's get the stream likes up to 100 because I just shared a bit of my life story. Nestor Ramos, thanks for the 5. What if removing the last thing I'll say about why that was my favorite period of time being a One Piece fan is because that was a period of time that was full of, how to explain? This is the last thing. I think things timed up perfectly in that was the period of time where I was like max optimistic about the future of One Piece as a story. The first period of time that I was super optimistic about like One Piece as a story was coming out of Marineford and like you're heading into the time skip and everything. And then like the excitement for One Piece coming out of the time skip and after all the events of Marineford, it cannot be described. Like when you're a week-to-week reader, it just cannot be described, okay? But then the first arc is like Fishman Island, which just isn't that exciting. Like it's not exciting off the bat. So Fishman Island killed a lot of that early on. Again, now I appreciate the arc, but it killed a lot of that. And then the next couple arcs, this is what was generally going on when I was in high school through the first couple years of college. Punk Hazard, I think, was going on when I was in high school and finishing at high school. And then Dressrosa was like the first 2-3 years of college, okay? Neither of those arcs, I didn't love either of those arcs. They felt slow, and I really wanted to, because like my optimism for One Piece, like I really loved the series and I wanted it to like be really good. So like when Dressrosa was going, I kept trying to convince myself that Dressrosa is as good as like Enies Lobby Like, I was trying to convince myself as I was reading Dressrosa, I'm like, I'm so excited to see Luffy fight Doflamingo. This is as good as any sloppy. But, like, none of the emotional beats were hitting as much. The arc was kind of packed. I didn't like that half the crew was missing. I literally theorized in my head that the other half of the crew would return by the end of Dressrosa. I was so hopeful. I was like, there's no way Oda would just do that to half the crew. I was really hoping that half the crew would return. I was disappointed with a lot of the fights. Like, Frankie versus Senor Pink. Great backstory for Senor Pink. Ass fight for Frankie, right? Great backstory, terrible fight. Nothing really happens in the fight. Zoro versus Pika. I'd wanted to see Zoro fight for so fucking long. And it was cool seeing him, like, dice up Pika, but it was also, like, so easy. I was like, I wanted to see him have a challenge. So that's not the same. Luffy versus Doflamingo, that's satisfied. That was satisfactory for me. But I still didn't feel like it lived up to, like, Luffy versus Lucci. And I've been looking forward to Luffy fighting Doflamingo for so fucking long. Dressrosa overall, just, I didn't love it coming away from it. And I actually took one of my breaks from One Piece post Dressrosa. And so then I got to let Zou chapters stack up. And that was such a breath of fresh air. Because I'm coming back to One Piece. I'm binging Zou. And I was, like, so excited from the opening set of chapters from Zou that from then on, like, that was my like I had so much optimism and excitement for the rest of the story coming out of Zou, because that's when you get, like, Rise Dono is safe, restored my faith in Oda to create, like, these sort of classic timeless, like, feel good moments for me. And then the lore reveals, and then the setup for Kaido and Big Mom. And then, like, the reverie around the corner that's being set up, and, like, waiting for Kaido with, like, little pirate games and everything. And then we're heading to Whole Cake, and I found Whole Cake to be such a refreshing change of pace, sort of setting and vibe and, like, focus when we got there. Like, everything from, like, Zou through, like, the beginning of Whole Cake just had me really, really, really positive about One Piece. And I believe that that's, like, roughly when like 2016. Yeah, end of 2016 was basically that segment of the story. I just felt overwhelming positivity and excitement for the future of the story during that period of time. That's probably, like, when I was highest on the story in general. I think as Whole Cake closed out, college had ended, so I was, like, a year into, like, post-college or whatever, and I was still really enjoying One Piece, but, like, I liked the ending of Whole Cake in different ways. It was up and down in certain ways. Loved Luffy versus Katakuri. But then I was really excited for Reverie and Wano and stuff like that. But I think overall, everything lined up for that senior year of college. It had the most promising... the future of One Piece felt most promising. It felt like the story was in a very, like, bright place with a lot of, like we had just finished out Zou, really nice arc. Whole Cake felt like a really refreshing, different style of arc. After, like, the really crammed, dense, sort of overpacked and cluttered nature of Dressrosa. So Zou and Whole Cake had me feeling very good, and that added into everything else I was feeling rereading One Piece during that time. All right, enough about that. Let's get the stream likes up to 100 real quick. Nestor Ramos, thanks for the 5. What if removing the marked arm breaks Imu's control? Maybe Shanks got the mark at Marijua and lost the arm on purpose to escape it. The thing with, like, Shanks losing the arm to escape it, that has to be something done in, like, it's been established that the editor said that Shanks had to lose the arm to, like, he said Oda needs to make the start of One Piece more exciting. So that's why Oda decided to have Shanks lose the arm. So I don't think that really holds up. And also, if Shanks wanted to lose the arm for the Sea King reason, then if Shanks wanted to lose the arm, why did he need to have the Sea King do it? Why couldn't he just have his crewmate do it? Or why didn't he just cut it off himself? And if the rule is you can't cut it off yourself, why not just have a crewmate do it? There's no reason that, it's not like Shanks was like, this is my opportunity to lose my arm. Because it's like, you can lose your arm whenever you want, bro. Like, all of us right now are capable of amputating limbs off of ourselves. We don't need to have all 4 limbs, you know? That's not like this thing that we're confined to, you know? You could go into your kitchen right now. Maybe you need something stronger than that. Maybe you need to go to some place that has a saw or some shit like that. But, like, we are all allowed to lose our limbs, you know? It's not like Shanks was like, if only there was some way I could lose my arm so I didn't have this damned mark on me. And then the Sea King popped up and it's like, aha, saving a child from an East Blue Sea King. This is the only possible way I could lose this appendage. That doesn't make any fucking sense, right? Why not have Ben Beckman do it? We know Ben Beckman likes taking off arms. Just ask Captain Kidd, right? So I don't think that holds up. We also know from the editor that that's why Shanks lost an arm. It's just like make things more exciting. But I could that. So the Shanks situation is separate, is all I'm saying, right? It is entirely possible that cutting off the marked arm or whatever is what separates you from Emu's abilities. That is possible. I'm just saying that Shanks losing the arm for that reason makes no sense. Okay. Continuing on. BB, thanks for the 2. I bummed my way through college too. Yeah, but it's not a good choice. I don't think you should do that. That was, like, I had to learn my lesson the hard way. It's something that I've had to keep learning and getting better at over life. But, like, over the course of, like, those 4 years of college, right, I always went forward with the mentality that I was doing a government politics degree. I never treated it as that important because I always went forward with the mentality that, like, the reason I'm getting the government politics degree is so that I can set myself to go to law school and do all that stuff later. However, I went with the mentality that that is my backup option. In my mind, the main thing I wanted to do post-college is start a business on videography. Well, in general, I wanted to be a film director, but I didn't want to go to school for film school because that's like a really fucking rough route. That's a fucking crapshoot. I wanted to start my own business post-college, right? If you start your own business, then you can get experience with some experience with videography and everything like that. And the goal is that, like, I could eventually build up to having my own studio or something like that and create my own independent films. I never wanted to go through the crapshoot of film school, okay? So that was my mentality. So throughout college, me and my friend, who is, by the way, currently still the editor of this channel, right? Throughout college, me and my friend, we had our own, like, side little video promotional business that we were doing, and we would just do odd jobs. We tried to turn it into, let me track it from the start. We did our side video promotional business, and we would do odd jobs throughout college, right? And we actually, even senior year, we even won a $1,500 film competition for our school, university. Well, I don't want to say anything, okay? I don't need people tracking me. But we won a film competition, a $1,500 campus-sponsored film competition, at our school. It was for an orientation, like a new orientation video for new students. Okay, I don't want to explain exactly the details because I don't want to be tracked or whatever. But we did that, and we were competing with kids who were film majors at our school. So that felt really good because it was just like, we're not even film majors, but we've done like enough like actual side video projects and stuff. We've been doing that we actually were able to execute this better than the film majors at our school, and we won that. So that was a really good win. Actually, that felt really good. Senior year, winning that competition. That felt really, really fucking good. So that felt awesome. And then, what do you call? I'm losing track of the story here. That's not the point of the story, okay? The point of the story is that throughout my 4 years of college, the idea was that I'm doing college so that then I can go to law school, right? But in my mind, I was like, I'm not really going to go to law school, though. I'm going to figure out a way to do the thing that I want to do, actually, which is like, do my own business, something like that, right? And I also had in my head at some point as college progressed that I wanted to start it because film was my big passion. So I was also a freelance film writer. I wrote for Watch Mojo, for example, for a little bit, right? So I also got in my head that like I want to do a film YouTube channel. So I had a few ideas in my head, and it was kind of two routes that I was thinking. I was like, either I'm going to come out of college and really make this side video promotional business into a thing, or I'm going to come out of college and I'm going to do a film YouTube channel, right? So those are my two thoughts. And then I was like, if neither of those work, then I will fall back on my degree and I'll become a law school student. That was the way I thought about it, okay? So I treated the degree with very, very low priority. That's actually totally fine. That's totally fine. But the problem is that I took it too easy because I had my mentality that I've got like plan A and plan B, or I guess plan A1, A2, or 1A, 1B, right? Then I don't need to really give a shit about plan C, okay? But that only works if you're really dedicating yourself to your two plans. And really, I should have like narrowed down or singled out which one, right? I half-assed it in the sense that yeah, we were doing side video projects a lot throughout college, but we could have gone a lot harder. We had the time on our hands. We could have gone a lot harder, really trying to set ourselves up such that by the time we're leaving college as like 21-year-olds, we've got like all the groundwork set, like a little network of clients, everything set to hit the ground running. We could have done that, okay? I fucking slacked in the sense that like I just treated it as like, oh, we can take this to the next level anytime. We can take this next level anytime, okay? And then with the movie channel that I wanted to start, I really slacked in that sense as well, in that I kept putting that off. I was like, I can do this anytime. I can do this anytime. Junior year hit, that's when I started doing like some freelance writing for movie websites, and I was like, this will be practice to set myself up to do the YouTube channel. So I got the ball rolling kind of then. And then senior year, I had so much time. I really could have started doing videos then. I could have started doing One Piece videos then, because I'd sort of changed my mind to do a One Piece channel. I could have started then, but I didn't. And so I end up, the big thing that gave me the go ahead in my mind that it is right to go after the videography business at the very least was us winning that film competition in senior year. Okay, that was big. And that was one of the few times in senior year that like we actually went really hard for one of our video projects. Okay, so that gave me the go ahead. I was like, that's gonna work, right? So coming out of college, in theory, I should have been working on these two goals, right? And then that way the degree and the law school route becomes the backup route, right? But in actuality, I hadn't put enough time into those goals over the course of the 4 years of college. I got too complacent because life was too easy and too fun in college, right? This is also one of the reasons that I do feel like, even though I think there's nothing wrong with like smoking, etc., I know that for some people with certain tendencies, it can quickly become a lifestyle, and that can hurt your focus, ambition, etc. So I do think there's some level of validity to people clutching pearls about marijuana. It's complicated. I think it's not as black and white as people talk about it. But anyway, coming out of college, first year out of college, it was just like hitting the ground from zero, because we're starting our videography business and we'd done projects in the past, but not to a degree that we built a network of clients or anything like that. Not to a degree that we're like serious entrepreneurs or anything with a full business. So we're having to start that really like from the ground up, really upgrade our equipment, really upgrade a lot of shit. So that's happening, number one. And during this period of time, like my engineer friends are already like getting like 60 something K a year jobs right off the gate. Like, and like they're able to get apartments and things like that. So it felt like I was like, I fucked up. I should have been working on my thing way beforehand. This right off the bat, I also started finally making some One Piece videos because now I had some time on my hands. So I started making some One Piece videos, but it was hard to juggle doing One Piece videos at the same time as working on the videography business. You know when it wouldn't have been hard making One Piece videos? During the fucking 4 years of college. I should have been doing the YouTube channel. If you're in college right now and you don't believe that, and you're not trying that hard on your actual degree, put your time right now while you can into some other venture. If I had been doing my One Piece videos during junior year or at least senior year of college, instead of just like being high and reading One Piece over and over all the time, although doing that probably set me up with a good base of like analysis material. So I was setting myself up in a sense, but I could have done all this earlier. That's the biggest thing. If I'd had the YouTube channel going to some degree right out of college, that would have set things up so much better. But instead, what I was faced with was like the first year out of college was this grind where we're doing videography projects for people off of Craigslist for pennies, like 20 hours of work for like $100 that we split between us, right? Because we're just trying to build our portfolio. So videography work, like that is like the hardest period of time that I've had to really, really grind, right? Like no distractions, just focus, no social life, nothing, right? At the same time, trying to squeeze in time to like, because I think I can get this YouTube channel working, and I enjoy making the One Piece videos and everything like that. So I don't know if it's going to lead to anything, but I'm kind of doing it. So during that period of time, I'm making these One Piece videos on the side, but they still take a lot of time to make. So I don't have any consistent rhythm. I would release a video like once every several months or something like that. And then at the same time, because I'm living at my parents' house for this year, right? I'm studying for the LSAT. I'm studying for the LSAT and like doing all like all the show stuff I would need to do to indicate to my parents that like, hey, if this other stuff, like if the videography business doesn't work out, I have a backup plan. I will be able to go to law school. Just give me this year of reprieve to focus on that stuff. But I'm doing the LSAT. I'll take the LSAT. Okay. So that was like just a period of time where it's like I have 3 things in the oven. One, I'm like like the videography stuff, putting in a shit ton of hours, making basically zero money, or at least nowhere near the money you need for that type of work. And like it's a slow but steady like building something, okay? But you don't know if it's gonna go anywhere. Then I got the YouTube thing, which I could best describe as a hobby that I'm putting free time into, that I have no idea if it's gonna go anywhere because I'm getting like 50 views, 100 views or something like that. It took like a long time to get to 100 subscribers, like forever to get to 1,000 subscribers. And it's just this hobby thing I'm doing on the side. I have no idea if it'll lead anywhere. I remember telling one of my friends, like, after I got to like 2K subscribers or something, I was like, yeah, I think if I keep doing this, then maybe I can get to like 10K subs and then maybe 100K subs, and then I can make that like my job or something. And I remember him literally like laughing because he's like, well, didn't it take you this long to get to like 2K? And I was like, yeah, but I think it'll grow faster as it goes. It does grow faster, by the way, as it goes. And then lastly, I have the fucking law school stuff, which I don't even want to be fucking doing. I don't want to be studying for the LSAT, but I have to be doing it on the side to keep my parents like, okay, he's got a route. He's got an alternate route or whatever, right? So that fucking year sucked, especially because, again, other people in my social circle who had actually taken college seriously were set up with jobs and stuff like that. I knew I never wanted to do a job like that, so the lawyer thing was the last thing I wanted to do. But that's what I get for not having applied myself as well as I could have during the 4 years of college. I didn't need to apply myself to my degree, right? Because I never really wanted to be a lawyer, but I should have applied myself more to the videography business, or at least to making YouTube videos and really like trying to build up something there. Like, it is okay in my mind that I didn't get like a 4.0 GPA or whatever, not even fucking close, for my government and politics degree, but I do severely regret not having put those 4 years into at least doing something productive that would have gotten me along further later on. But at the same time, those are lessons that you learn that allow you to avoid those sort of pitfalls down the line. So at the same time, maybe I needed to have those realizations and have a couple shitty years, like really 3 or 4 shitty years post-college, to really respect that like the seeds that you plant early on are what will get you set up down the line in the future. So you should always be planting seeds, basically. Okay, continuing on. I'm saying, thanks for being a Pirate King tier member for 17 months, man. Yo, Morge, did you see the spoilers for 1150? Not giving any details, just curious if you've seen them. Also, are you still planning on streaming after One Piece ends? So spoilers of 1150, we're not going to talk about. We're not going to talk about spoilers for 1150. No spoilers for 1150. What do you call? If any mods see spoilers for 1150, just nix that. The spoilers for 1150, I'll just say the chapter is crazy, but I think everyone expected it to be crazy, so I don't think that's a big spoiler. Am I planning on streaming after One Piece ends? That's so far away, because I genuinely don't think One Piece is going to end for like 4 years at least. That's so far away that I think it's very possible. And there's a lot of other things I would like to cover, like either manga Morge or movie Morge type stuff. But I don't know if that's where... I think that's the thing I genuinely can't confidently answer right now. Because there are other things I want to cover. One Piece is to date the only thing that I've loved so much that I want to talk about that like as a exclusive topic and make a whole channel about it. There's no other manga or anime or TV show or movie series or anything like that I would ever want to like dedicate a whole channel to being around, right? So it's possible that I'd want to turn into a variety type, like cover other manga, other anime type things, YouTuber down the line once One Piece ends, or switch back to focusing on films. Those are possibilities, but I'm not going to say anything confidently just yet. Shattered Glass, thanks a lot. Didn't expect Weed Morge as canon to Morge lower. Anyway, I'm missing something, but where's Shanks? I thought he's near Elbaf. Didn't he foresee this? Shanks left. Shanks left the island after the kid incident is what was implied, but I do believe Shanks will be back before the end of the Elbaf arc, because, you know, as Shanks says, he's not going to let anybody fuck with his friends, and I don't think the whole Elbaf storyline is going to end right this second. I think that we've got some more going on. JWP, thanks for coming through. Thanks as always for the support, man. Thank you for being a Pirate King tier member for 29 months, man. Morge, man, long time no Morge. I did the exact same shit in college, except it was my first time watching One Piece. Also, Elbaf is going crazy. I'm so hyped. I'm not going to talk about 1150 at all, but like, Elbaf is already so fucking good. Like, I think this is the setup to be like, it's giving me everything I could have asked for, right? The stakes are there, the dramatic tension is there. I love the island, love the side characters, and I love the focus that we're getting on the Straw Hats. I just think all the pieces are really here. Lore stuff, mysteries, all very exciting. Every mystery in Elbaf right now is exciting. And it seems like we're going to get some outside world cutaways potentially. So this is already shaping up. I think this could be my favorite arc post time skip and one of the best One Piece arcs ever. Drink water! Thanks for the 10. Hey, Morge, prediction. Zoro already has the ability to damage and prevent the Holy Knights from regenerating. Zoro cuts Kaido with Advanced Conqueror's Haki. Kaido's still standing. Zoro finished Lucci. He's still standing. 11-11. Maybe. Maybe. I think, let me do a quick poll. I think most people feel like what Gaban did is Advanced Conqueror's Haki, right? Let's see. My only question is, because I'm down for it being Advanced Conqueror's Haki. I think he fits as a Conqueror's Haki user, just in his persona, mentality, etc. My one question is there any, like, I think the one thing that seems like after many instances now seems to be consistent, there's that sort of zit onomatopoeia, you know? The ZZZT or whatever. Does anybody know of any instance in One Piece where there was somebody that used that zit and it was armament haki? Gaban Conqueror's Haki user. Because otherwise it might just be that the zit is the cue that we were waiting on this whole time that is consistent. As long as there's no counterexample to the zit, I'm down for that. Because the tricky thing with everything else is that there tends to be counterexamples. So, like, people talk about, like, how thick the lightning is, but then you've got, like, the scabbards cutting Kaido with, like, crazy levels of lightning, but they're not using Conqueror's Haki. They're just using armament haki, right? And then some people talk about, like, is there a trail before the attack? But then you have instances of that as well, like ulti, katakuri, things like that, right? So is it really just down to the... And then let's not even get started about the contact or no contact shit, because Oda doesn't even draw that half the time. So is the zit the only thing? Sound effect scaling, says Aether. Yeah, but that's the problem, isn't it? It's just like... That's the problem. We don't have anything else to scale off of. Okay, most people are like Gaban's Conqueror's Haki. Okay, I'm down. I would like... I don't know if we can even rely on the zit, but I'm down for me. I think his character fits having Conqueror's Haki. To me, that's the biggest thing. It makes sense for his character. I just wish... And it looks like Conqueror's Haki. It looks like the attack that Roger used when he was like attacking Whitebeard and stuff like that, or Whitebeard attacking Roger. So it seems right. It's just like, yeah, to me it's just like, what do you call? Is it definite? I don't know. I don't know if it's definite. I would just like something a bit more concrete. That's it. I would like things that are a bit more concrete. I'm sure Vivre cards will clarify in the future. But this does open the door. The video I considered doing for tomorrow is discussing whether or not Sanji has Conqueror's Haki. I was considering doing that, but I think that would be such a controversial video topic. I think there's a more interesting video topic that I landed on for tomorrow. Ulti had the SFX. Do we have any Vivre cards on Ulti? Does Ulti have Conqueror's? Well, Ulti is not an advanced Conqueror's Haki user. She's not an advanced Conqueror's Haki user, so it's just like... Well, how much does Ulti even tell us about any of this shit, you know? Yeah. It's a hard knock life trying to figure out whether or not Oda's doing this shit or not. Where's this? Shonen Academia, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 2 months. Is the Wano analysis out yet? No, but it is coming. It is coming. It is the biggest thing that I would like to get done. Soon. Let me title this shit. Eric, thanks for the 2. Lol, I had no backup plan. I was all in. You went to school for art school, though, right? So that was, like, obviously what you were interested in doing. Muhammad D. Luffy, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 29 months. Hi, Morge. Do you read Lord of the Mysterious? It is incredible. No, I've never heard of that. What's Lord of the Mysterious? Lord of the Mysterious. Is that a manga? Anime? Or is it like an actual book? I don't read real people books these days. I do want to get into it. Lord of the Mysterious or Lord of Mystery? Lord of the Mysteries, a Chinese web novel. Interesting. I think the next thing I'm going to read is probably going to be Kagurabachi or Omniscient Reader or something like that. Yeah. All right, we're probably going to start the reaction in a second. I missed some supers. Wait, what did I miss? Oh, shit, I did miss some supers. Holy shit, hold on. Drink water. No, we covered that. Oh, drink water. Sorry, the next super you had. We got 2 supers I missed. Drink water, thanks for the 5. With ZZT in both Jinbei and Zora's panel, Black Lightning lingers on Lucci's chest, like Scopper did Sommers. Interesting. I mean, it would not be the first time that Zoro has picked up some hockey technique before anybody else. Because it's the same, like, he tapped into armament back in fucking Alabasta, right? Ashura is something related to Conquerors, as implied by God. Well, basically, it seems very, very clear that it's something related to Conquerors, and he was doing that back in Enies Lobby. And then you could argue that observation hockey is also what he used against Mr. One in Alabasta. So it would not be the first time Zoro's doing something with hockey that that even Luffy hasn't tapped into yet, or has not been explained in the story yet. Apple Killer 2308, thanks for the 5. Fishman up until Zoe was the worst run of One Piece in my opinion. I still can't rewatch/reread Dressrosa after reading it weekly, hoping the remake fixes the arc. I am inclined to agree. That's chapter 600 through chapter 800. I think that's a section of the story that has the fewest, because even if you dislike Wano the way that, let's say, I dislike Wano, right? It's still complicated because Wano has a lot of iconic and significant sections. Even if I dislike the overall story and the way the overall story plays out, like Luffy versus Kaido, Gear 5th, right? Like rooftop stuff, but then also Roger lore, right? Like God Valley lore, like the whole Odin flashback. You've got obviously all of Act 1 of Wano, I think I really enjoyed. Like there's a lot of exciting stuff. Like, very, very exciting stuff. Even if I don't personally like the way the whole narrative was structured and the emotional flow of the story and a lot of the thematic stuff and, like, a lot of the plot stuff, like, even if, or a lot of the character stuff either, Wano was a very exciting section of the story for many parts, right? And that's me, who's a certified Wano hater, right? Fishman Island through Dressrosa was genuinely, to me, it is a slog, in my opinion. Because Fishman Island is simply not an exciting One Piece arc. It almost tries to do everything in its power to be not exciting. The main characters themselves don't treat it with any level of, like, this is a big deal or anything like that, right? Punk Hazard. I actually found Punk Hazard to have a lot of exciting setup. So I enjoyed a lot of Punk Hazard while it was going on. But in retrospect, it is kind of a slog to get through. Because for me, I like Law versus Smoker as a fight a lot. I love the Doflamingo setup for the future. So, and I love the idea that everything's being cast to these underworld brokers. So I liked that Punk Hazard gave me a bit of what I wanted for the New World, which is like finally feeling like we're stepping into the post-time skip era, like the New World, where it's like we're getting all of the pieces for this big stuff in the future, right? Like we're getting we're getting the pieces to some crazy cool stuff happening down the line. And it feels like the world is opening up. That's what Punk Hazard felt like a bit to me. But the story, like the actual like chapter to chapter experience is like, it's called the arc of running for a reason. Like it's a lot of characters split up, not a lot of characters that we care about getting exciting things to do. Characters running around through dealing with poison gas and like environmental hazards, which aren't really exciting for large segments of the story, you know, especially not for a 50 chapter arc. And then we get to Dressrosa, where it's like we've only got half the crew. It's like a very dense storyline all packed into a single day on a very small location with a shit ton of new side characters and new side plots, and the Strats being very much in the background. And that was the first storyline in One Piece that like we started to feel like that was the first storyline in One Piece where like Oda's custom like charts and like his maps with arrows pointed at all the characters suddenly became like very, very, very obtrusive in the story. He'd done it before, but this was the storyline where it's like every chapter is just like a fucking map of arrows moving around as Oda's getting all these pieces into place. It was the first time that we really felt like an extremely slow, cumbersome sort of climax was playing out for the story, which didn't used to be the case in One Piece. And like all of that was just to defeat a character who was reiterated over and over to be a mid-boss, like a mini-boss on the way to Kaido. Like not the big conclusion. Like that's the weird thing about Dressrosa. It was the first storyline that was both the conclusion to a larger storyline, meaning Punk Hazard through Dressrosa, but also clearly just like a halfway point in a much larger storyline. It was like the first time Oda kind of put his foot one, like before it was all clear, conclusive plots, right? Like the Baroque Works saga begins with Whiskey Peak, we're going to take down Crocodile, and everything from there to Alabasta is about taking down Crocodile, right? Jaya to Skypiea, right? We're going to get to Sky Island, and we're going to resolve whatever conflict is there. You get there, you defeat Anno, right? Water 7, Enies Lobby, you're setting up this whole world government storyline. We end with getting go against the world government, defeat CP9, right? Marine Ford starts with the Ace execution, concludes with like being set up, concludes with Ace execution being followed through, right? Fishman Island, right? That's its own little saga. Then you get to the whole Kaido plot line, and it's like, okay, we're going to defeat Kaido, but like, there's like part A to this, which is defeating Doflamingo, who's like the partway thing to defeating Kaido. And so we're going to do like 150 chapters just to defeat Doflamingo, but it's not that climactic. It's only half the crew, and the half of the crew that's there, they get really weak sauce battles. Did I say weak sauce? That's so fucking stupid. I don't know why I said that. Weak battles, let's say. And then the other half crew's not even there, and like we're reiterating over and over that like we're just doing all this stuff to like, it's just part of the pipeline to defeat Kaido. So it feels like a saga's concluding, but it's not really concluding. You're just on, like, it's like you getting the halfway part of like a longer train, and then Wano is where the whole thing concludes. So yeah, I feel like 600 to 800, that is the slowest section of One Piece. Then I think the Versus 4 Emperor saga, which is Zou, Whole Cake Island, and Wano, it's like a very exciting and high stakes period of time for One Piece. Where like that feels like where the whole like a lot of the New World setup and New World like Yonko excitement and buildup is cashed in on that Oda set up. But at the same time, I personally am not satisfied with the way a lot of that story went. So yeah, it's just complicated. I think we're in the best period of One Piece right now, personally. Lewis, thanks for the 3. Did you ever get back to Vagabond? No. I will read Vagabond at some point, though. Everything in good time. Powerful NL, thanks for being a Pirate King to your member for 25 months, man. Thanks a lot. W thumbnail. Yeah, all I do is I make some reaction faces and then the editor picks out what to use. So like, I think he likes to troll me a little bit. It's let me see it. I kind of want to see what it looks like right now. It probably looks really goofy. I saw a glimpse of it. I was like, all right, I guess I'm just really excited about this shit, huh? It is what it is. Dick so small, I piss on my balls. Thanks for the 5. If this fandom couldn't handle Dressrosa's pacing and characters moving around, what are you all going to do with the Great War? I think the Great War is going to be so many fucking arrows. It's going to be insane. I'd say the one thing, because like it happened with Dressrosa and it happened again with Onigashima. I think the one thing that will be different with the Great War, I think we're going to get a lot of arrows, a lot of like characters or whatever having been moved around and placed. My hope is that the difference is simply that in the Great War, in Dressrosa, the characters that we're seeing all these arrows of, right? Who are these characters? These are fucking like Leo, this Tantata dude we just met, Bartolomeo and Cavendish, random fighters from the Colosseum, Sai, fucking Blue Gilly, Ideo, Hudrudin. Random ass characters that we met from the Colosseum. Chinjao, Kiros. We like the guy, but like, you know, it's not like our fan favorite or whatever. Rebecca, right? These are the characters that are the arrows, right? In the final war, all of those characters will be swapped out for Sabo, Dragon, Shanks, Mihawk, you know, Kobe. Every single character, almost every single character in the final war that like Oda's gonna involve is gonna be characters that are actually built up mainstays of One Piece that we want to see in battle, right? In Dressrosa, like a lot of it was like, these are just random ass characters that are being Oda's spending God knows how long moving them around. And like, he's doing it in a really awkward way where like he's having Luffy move up the plateau floors one at a time. And as he has Luffy move up the plateau floors, he's slowly setting up all the side character battles on each plateau floor, right? That's how Oda's doing it, right? But at the same time, we don't know that much about, one, Doflamingo's family. It's not the most hype set of subordinates. It's like fucking Buffalo and Makvis and like Baby 5. You know, like these are the types of characters that we're up against, okay? And then the characters that they're being pitted against are like the Colosseum fodder that we already saw get fucked up, right? So Oda's spending so much time and effort setting up these fights that like we don't care that much about. Now I love the Grand Fleet because now I know they're the Grand Fleet. But at the time, it's like, I like one or two of these guys, right? A lot of the investment in those characters in general was like, we thought that one of them might become the next Straw Hat. Instead, Oda was going for the Grand Fleet. So that was what that was, right? But in the final war, my feeling is that even if Oda is very slow with setting up all of these matchups or whatever, at the very least, it's going to be like, oh shit, we're getting Kobe versus like Green Bull set up over here. Or we're getting like Dragon versus Figarland Garling set up over here, right? So like the process of pieces being moved into place and matchups being set, I think that will still be inherently engaging and exciting even if it's slow. I think this was something that Onigashima had slightly better than Dressrosa. Onigashima's process of setting up all the fights and everything like that and matchups and moving certain plot lines along and getting people in place, it was as slow as Dressrosa's. I think arguably slower. Definitely slower, actually. But the difference was that with that, at least a lot of it was like, one, it was like Straw Hat matchups, so we're getting to see certain things we want, like, okay, Robin's being matched up with Black Maria here. That's interesting, right? Zoro and Sanji are getting their setups with King and Queen. Kid and Law are getting their setups against, like, Big Mom, right? Those things are more exciting. It's still interspersed with a bunch of absolute ass, like, Chopper is dealing with Ice Onis over here, And God knows how, like, Raizo's being set up against Fukurokuju over here. Okay, Hiyori's back for some reason. She sailed all the way over here, even though she has no fucking, like, battle ability or whatever. And she's being set up with Orochi over here. The Scabbards are facing Kanjuro for the 5th time over here. Literally, they faced off against Kanjuro 3 times. Like, once was enough, okay? And then I remember the peak of my frustration was, like, there was a stretch of chapters where we cut to a graph of the Kazembo going down basement flights, like Onigashima levels, for like 3 chapters in a row. It was descending the levels as we got graphs showcasing how far away Yamato was from getting to it. And it was like a running graph of like Yamato, what stair level she's on, while the Kazembo she's chasing, what basement level it's getting down to. And that was just a recurring thing for chapter after chapter. This is actually bothering me enough that I'm going to write this down real quick as notes. I think I put that in as is, but I think that's already in the Wano analysis, but I'm annoyed enough that I'm going to put it back down. Hold on. Hold on. Okay. All right. Okay. Okay. All right. All right. All right. All right, let's get stream likes up to 100 real quick. Oh, wait. We're almost there. Jaren's Rambo, thanks for the 2. Why You Hate It became the Law Show after the Timescape. Why You Hate It became the Law Show. Yeah, that's one of the reasons I really dislike it too. It's just like, that's when the story suddenly stopped being about the Straughts and was just about this random ass dude that came out of the blue, Trafalgar Law. And the crazy thing, this is what I always say, which is the crazy thing with like me and Trafalgar Law. Everything about Trafalgar Law as a character, the persona, the mentality, even the fighting style, abilities, the planning, strategy, logic, competency, all of that stuff would have made him, even the backstory, would have made him a very likable character for me if he was introduced in like East Blue. If he was like, if you said Law is a Straw Hat or something like that from the very get-go of the story, he would probably be one of my fucking favorite characters in One Piece. Maybe he'd be my favorite character. Who knows? My issue with Law, and why I've always disliked him from the very beginning, and why I'm just baffled as to why other people don't really fucking hate this character, is that it was just like this weird-ass, like, complete takeover by him in the story out of the blue. Like, we've been waiting and waiting for finally the Straw Hats to get time to shine again. Like, we already saw all of the Marineford saga without the Straw Hats, without our main characters. The characters that, like, we've grown to love and associate One Piece with, they're all out of the story for all of Marineford. We get to look forward to them training and then getting back the band back together and taking on the New World. And they enter the New World, and it's like, Oda's like, actually, I'm not going to write about these guys at all. all of that build up to them was for nothing. The first arc in the New World, they're not going to fight anybody. Instead, Trafalgar Law is going to be the fucking hero. This random ass dude is just going to take over. He's the new protagonist. He's the protagonist. Luffy's the deuteragonist. And then the Strats are like, I don't know. They're there in the background. They're like set pieces. They're like part of the background set or something. And I was like, what the fuck is this? This is really disappointing writing. This is not this is not really like delivering on the things that were set up for these characters from pre-time skip. This is not like treating the characters that you've built the story around with respect. That's how I felt. I was like, why is this character the main character now? This is so fucking random. He's fucking Steve Urkel Family Matters his way into this show. And you know what? The entire fucking reader base fucking jerked off to it. They were like, this is good. Fuck the Straw Hats. We like Trafalgar Law now. He was fucking second in the popularity polls or something like that after Dressrosa. It was like, fuck Zoro, Sanji, Nami, Usopp, all the other fucking characters that have been like popular in One Piece up till now. Trafalgar Law fucking caught up. He like overtook them and everybody loved it. He was just like, yeah, fuck the Straw Hats. Every single One Piece fan was just like, fuck the Straw Hats. We don't like him anymore. We just want to see more of this Law dude, and we actually don't even mind. Next arc, Oda, you know what? Next arc, there's too many of the Straw Hats. They're taking up our Trafalgar Law time. Ship off half of them. Just send them to the next arc. Send them to the next island. Just send them away. We don't want him anymore. We want more of this Trafalgar Law dude. Can we please see some more of him? And you know how Luffy always fights the main villain of the arc? We don't like that anymore. Instead, can we make it Luffy and Law? I know Luffy's the one that defeated Crocodile and Enel and Doflamingo and Moria and Horty and Arlong. And, you know, this has been a really good thing you've had going over the entire story and got us readers, you know, addicted to, enjoying, right? Like, you've set this rhythm for us and built the entire narrative around this, right? But maybe you've had it all wrong. Maybe what you need is, instead of Luffy fighting Doflamingo, you had this fucking Sasuke ripoff just right next to him. Maybe that's what you need. Maybe that's what the story was fucking missing this whole time. And so instead of Luffy facing Doflamingo, facing off against Doflamingo at the finale, you've got the shot of Luffy and fucking like main character number one or whatever, Trafalgar Law, and now it's them fighting Doflamingo. And that's like, and readers fucking ate it up. And to this day, there's still readers that argue that like Luffy shouldn't even have been the one to defeat Doflamingo. It should have been Law. Newsflash! This is Luffy's fucking story. Trafalgar Law was lucky to get as much screen time as he did. It is fucked up that he even had that big of a role up to that point in time. And there's still readers that are like, I actually think Trafalgar Law didn't get enough. I think actually Punk Hazard through Dressrosa, it should have just been him. What was Luffy even doing there getting involved fighting Doflamingo? Fuck you. This is Luffy's story. I did not read 600 chapters of this shit to see fucking Trafalgar Law defeat Doflamingo. Who the fuck is this guy? I read every fucking arc so that Luffy can take down the big bad at the end of the story. That's what Oda did 600 chapters of One Piece doing. Why the fuck would you want some random ass Sasuke character to show up and just be like, nah, we say fuck the Strats, ship Strats off to fucking Zoe or Whole Kick or whatever the fuck, give the other Strats that are at Dressrosa some BS ass fights, like Zoro cutting up a rock, or Frankie like fucking suplexing Senor Pink for 50 chapters straight. Robin fights no one. Usopp wins via gag face or whatever. Fuck the Strats that are even there. And Luffy doesn't even get the main villain. Luffy now has to fucking share the villain. He has to fucking share the villain with this character who's not even a real main character. He's a fucking inserted character out of the fucking blue. He's not supposed to fucking be here. None of us signed up for this shit, but for some reason, a bunch of readers are on board and they're like, we like this. We like how much of this random ass character is in the story now. This is good. What the fuck? What the fuck? It was the most bizarre reading experience ever. Like, I genuinely don't understand it. The most bizarre reading experience ever. Because I'm just like, this is so ass. But people are eating it up. And they're just like, but he's got a good backstory, though. The fucking Chopper has a good backstory. That doesn't mean I need to see Chopper and Luffy defeating Doflamingo. What the fuck? Anyway. It was just really, really stupid. It was really stupid, and I blame a lot of readers for like getting on board with it, because I feel like it's just like I couldn't even vent and hate on the character, because for some reason a lot of readers were just like, we enjoy random characters being inserted in the story and stealing the show from all the main characters that we've like grown to know and love. Like, it actually makes no fucking sense to me why so many people loved Lost so much, because it tells me that people were genuinely just like, you know what, fuck the Straw Hats. It's cool that this character overshadows the entire crew, and Oda literally sends half the crew away to write some more space for this dude who's not a real fucking Straw Hat to take over the story. People seem to like that Luffy was fucking around in the Coliseum fighting fodder, while Law was the one out there fighting Doflamingo and Fujitora and shit. It just made no fucking sense to me. I was like, this is Upside Down World or something like that. Why are people even reading One Piece? You don't like Luffy that much. You don't like the Straw Hats that much. You just like Sasuke. Go read fucking Naruto. Go read Naruto. That's the Naruto and Sasuke. Why don't you go read Naruto? You can read more about Sasuke there. Makes me mad just thinking about it. Anyway, continuing on. Dick so small, I pissed on my balls. Thanks for the 5. Who told you those characters aren't going to be in the final war? Also, you love them becoming the Grand Fleet because you read them. You read them have all that time. Who told you those characters aren't going to be the final war? Also, you love them becoming the Grand Fleet because you read them have all that time. Because you read them have all that time. No, I know it. Okay, I think I get the gist of what you're saying, which is that, like, now, because we got that time with them in Dressrosa, now I like them being the Grand Fleet, right? That's true, but I'm talking about the Dressrosa experience during the arc itself. Now I will enjoy seeing, like, Cavendish or Bartolomeo or whatever playing a role in the final war, because they should, because the Grand Fleet should make an impact. I'm saying for its time, like, during the time of the arc itself, at that point in time, we didn't really have that level of attachment to the characters or understanding of why they're important. So for that time, it was kind of like, what the fuck why is Oda spending so much time with these characters? It doesn't feel exciting. We don't really know, like, seeing Leo fight fucking Jorah or whatever isn't that fun of a matchup to spend, like, a couple chapters on, you know? Especially not the number of chapters it takes to set up all of these scenarios. So it's good Oda did the groundwork for that stuff. I'm not saying it's not good he did the groundwork. I'm addressing why in that arc itself it's not that exciting. It's kind of like Fishman Island is not a super exciting arc on its own, but it's still important that Oda laid the groundwork because that helps for future storylines. I'm just talking about what it feels like, what it felt like when you're reading the story at that point in time, right? Souse, thanks for the Pirate King to remember for 21 months. Have you seen the memes surrounding this year's NBA playoffs? Too funny. I don't even want to talk about this year's NBA. I've stopped watching. I've not watched an NBA playoff game since, like, Nuggets Thunder game, like, 5 or something like that. I'm done with the NBA playoffs. I'm genuinely I've seen a lot of the memes, but, like, the memes help give me a sense of catharsis of seeing, like, everybody else hate on the Thunder and SGA. So it feels good, but it doesn't change the reality of what's happening, which is, like, a lot of people talk about the wrong thing, which is, like, look, one, in terms of, I could get into so much about the reffing and the whistles and all of that stuff. I think it would be too long of a tangent to go on right here. But the amount it drastically changes the game when, like, this is the most I've ever seen. It's all, like, reffing has always been very subjective in the NBA, and it always has had the ability to influence games. And if you listen to players talk, and even the interview from that ref that was caught rigging games or whatever back from whatever, it is pretty much confirmed that the NBA does have certain agendas that it pushes, and, like, it can be very difficult to win certain games unless you win by a large margin. Unless you outplay the other team by a large margin if the other team is getting a favorable whistle, okay? So NBA reffing has always been very subjective. But this is the first time in all my time watching the NBA where I've seen this level of disparity between, like, what one team gets called for and what the other team gets called for. And it's every game. Like, it's consistent. Because people talk about how, like, SGA is not as bad of a foul baiter as, like, James Harden, for example. But the difference is that James Harden's favorable whistle was not the same in the playoffs. That's why he didn't ever have as much success in the playoffs. Like, the reffing evened out in the playoffs, right? But the Thunder, it's this unique scenario where, like, you are not allowed, like, I've never seen this before, where the Thunder as a team are allowed to continuously foul the other team, continuously, every single possession. And then the Thunder's best player, SGA, he gets the same whistle that he used to get in the regular season. I've never seen this before. It is genuinely something very, very different and unique in the NBA. I've never seen this before. Jaren's Rambo, thanks for the 2. You would hate if Shikamaru helped fought Pain/Madara. If Shikamaru was never in the... Shikamaru is actually very, very different. Because Shikamaru, for example, is a character that's been a mainstay of Naruto, like a very, very important character of Naruto. Arguably Naruto's best friend. I think many would argue that Shikamaru is genuinely Naruto's best friend. Because he and Sasuke have like a very weird dynamic. I don't know if you'd call it best friend or whatever. Shikamaru has been a very important character in Naruto from the very beginning. Right? Very, very important character in Naruto. He's one of the main characters of Naruto. He was the one that was fucking promoted to Chunin. He won the fucking Chunin exams of Naruto, right? Been very important pretty much every single arc after that. Shikamaru is like a key character in the story, right? It's the same way I'm not going to complain that like Naruto and Sasuke together defeated Madara, or they fought against Madara and Kaguya, because like these are characters that are in the story. Law is fucking airdropped into the story, right? He's introduced very briefly, post-times, or pre-time skip at Saboti, very briefly, like a verse sliver of a second. And then, post-time skip, it's like, fuck the Straw Hats. If you guys were excited about reading about the Straw Hats, too fucking bad, because we're only going to fucking focus on this dude. Not a Straw Hat, random-ass character. We saw him briefly, one of the 11 supernovas, right? But he's the main character now. He's literally the main character for the next 150 chapters. He is main character number 1. Luffy is the deuteragonist, and the rest of the Straw Hats, fuck them. They're side characters, minor characters. They don't fucking matter, because this dude is who we're reading about from here on out. It's absolutely absurd, and readers just ate it up, which tells me something about... I'm not going to get into it. I'm not going to get into it. It's not worth getting into. Okay, Dick So Small and Piss on the Balls, thanks for the 5. You're the only guy I see complain that the story keeps itself dynamic by making side characters compelling too much. They're entertaining in real time. What? I don't think that's my complaint. I don't think I ever complained about, like you hear me complaining about Loki? Do you hear me complaining about Scopper Gaban? I'm also very, very curious. Do you genuinely feel... Were you weekly during Dressrosa or anything like that? Were you weekly during Dressrosa? Because in Dressrosa, I'm not the only person who has this complaint. Or maybe you're looking at it through rose-tinted glasses. Throughout Dressrosa, there was a lot of complaining about how slow the pacing of the arc was, and why so many of the Coliseum fight, like why Oda was spending so much time getting all these Coliseum fighters into place and figuring out fights for these characters, right? I was not the only person in Onigashima joking about the 9 Scabbers, or like Raizo versus Fukurokuju, or how nobody liked fucking like Hiyori or whatever. Like, I'm not the only person doing that. I don't know what to say, and I'm not the only person who's complained about the pacing of Dressrosa or Onigashima. I don't know where you're coming from. I also tend to celebrate One Piece side characters when they're well written. Like, Momonosuke, I think, is a great side character. Bonnie, Kuma, obviously phenomenal. Loki shaping up to be really great. I want to see more of him. Gaban, Gunko, Colin, great side characters, right? I'm not even complaining about the Coliseum fighters or whatever being poor characters, because I like the Grand Fleet now. Over the course of their Dressrosa fights, they became fun, engaging characters. But we're talking about why Dressrosa felt slow. The only thing we're examining is why Dressrosa felt slow for readers when it was coming out, because it most definitely did if you just go back and read discussions during that period of time, right? I'm putting forward that if Oda is choosing to take a lot of side characters who were not fleshed out at all at that point in time, like we had very little of any of these Coliseum fighters at this point in time, right? Like we'd seen little bits and glimpses of them during the Coliseum, but like the most characterization we'd gotten was maybe for like Bartolomeo or Cavendish, and even that very little, right? Arguably Chinja, with him complaining about like what Garp did to him and everything like that, right? If you're spending like 40 chapters just moving these characters who are who've had very little writing going for them and putting them into place, right? That is going to feel very slow, right? During the fights, we come to enjoy the Coliseum fighters more, right? But what we're specifically talking about is why it feels slow and kind of monotonous for a lot of readers to take a lot of characters who up till that point, right, were not that fleshed out and not that well understood by us, setting them up, right, moving them around, setting them up, that can feel slow. Once the fights are over, now we're more attached to them, and now we enjoy them as part of the Grand Fleet. My point was for the final war, that phase 1 of putting these characters into place and getting their matchup set, that will likely be more exciting than Dressrosa, because unlike Dressrosa, we already know and like the characters that are going to be the key players of the final war, right? Again, Dragon, Sabo, probably Shanks, Mihawk, these types of characters, right? We're already excited. We will be excited seeing them being put into place and get matchups. And that includes the Grand Fleet characters now, because now we know those characters. You see what I'm saying? That's not like... I think it's a really, really strange attempt to misconstrue my point by saying that a story making side characters... I don't think I've ever complained about a story complaining about making side characters compelling. I've definitely complained when the side characters completely cut out the main characters, because no story should ever sacrifice its main characters that you've built the narrative around for side characters. That's just not good storytelling, especially if the entire story is revolved around the main characters up to that point in time. But that's a different discussion. Log Tim, thanks for the 5. Hey Mort, since Imu took over Gunko, I've seen the discussion around the Rounded Eyes return. I've never seen Hakuba mentioned. Was he foreshadowing? I'm just gonna try to not read into that too much, because like there may be something there, but also the pieces are just so random. It's like Mihawk has the weird eyes, Hakuba has weird eyes, Imu has weird eyes. I just don't see a trend. If there's a trend that makes itself apparent, then that'd be really cool. If Oda's been planning something the whole time, but I don't really see it myself right now. JP, thanks for the 10. My guess is that Oda decided that Law could be a way to sacrifice a main character that's not a Strahd in the final saga, and thus needed to catch him up with the amount of focus of a Strahd all at once. I think that's cool, but I don't think he needed to be the main character of the story. Like Brooke wasn't even the fucking main character of Thriller Bark, you know? And that's his fucking origin arc, you know? Law got to be the main character from Punk Hazard all the way through Dressrosa, even above Luffy, which is kind of insane. Like, insane level of precedence over the rest of the characters of the story. I think unprecedented in One Piece. Javon Johnson, thanks for the 10. Speaking of Fishman Island, Oda having Luffy stress to the citizens that it's up to them to figure out if he's good or evil foreshadowed the dueling Nika concept we see in Elbaf so beautifully. I like that idea. And I also think in general, it goes to the messaging of One Piece, which is that, like, don't just listen to other people to tell you who's good or who's bad, right? Like, the world government labels people as pirates or, like, pirates or innocent or whatever. Like, the world government tends to dub who's a criminal, who's not a criminal, right? Luffy's argument is always just think for yourself, see the world for yourself, decide for yourself. It's also the same way, like, Dragon, right after Enies Lobby, he was introduced saying, like, Luffy always question the world. Like, that's the idea that free thinkers tend to have, which is, like, it's correct to try and make judgments yourself without of, like, what's actually happening, who's good and bad, without just listening to what somebody else is dubbing is, like, the good guy or the bad guy. Dick So Small, I pissed on Revolts, thanks for the 5. I read it weekly. The critique is a whacked out perspective. It's not slow pacing when the time is spent endearing you to important characters. I think you're getting what I'm saying confused, Dick So Small, because what I am talking about is the process wherein Oda is setting up the matchups. If you read it weekly, then you do recall that I am not the only person who pointed out how slow Dressrosa's pacing was, right? During the section where it's time to go up the plateau, Oda took a lot of time moving characters around into place. We had a lot of one-off panels where you have, like, a small blurb of dialogue or, like, a really quick little bit or scene or whatever, right? The fights, that's what really fleshed out and endeared us to the characters, right? That's where you get a lot of their personality or whatever. But the amount of time Oda took just shuffling and moving pieces into place, that was slow. That was very slow. There's not a lot of deep character writing going on. There's not a ton of characterization. There's not a ton of storytelling. It's just moving plot pieces, right? That is what many people consider to be slow pacing. Have you considered that people don't tend to... Well, I don't need to go into that too much or whatever, but if it's something that a lot of people felt was slow pacing, right? I don't think that your argument really holds up that, like, it just was good character writing or something like that, right? Because by that logic, it's like anytime a character says or does anything on screen, that's automatically good character writing. No, there's substantive character writing, and then there's There's whatever the fuck was happening in Dressrosa during the setting up phase, where it was a lot of just shuffling pieces, one-off bits of dialogue, sometimes not even like characters not even saying anything, or just showing us a shot of characters fighting or whatever, getting ready to fight or something, and then moving things around. Maps with arrows on them and narrator explaining what's happening, etc. That's also not a ton of great characterization. Once we got to the fights, I think that was good characterization for all of the Grand Fleet, right? That's not what we're talking about here, though. We're talking about how long it took to get there. I think Oda needs to find a way to speed up those in-between pieces and get those matchups set in place a little bit smoother. But the good news is that with the upcoming Final War, I'm talking about good news here. For some reason, you keep trying to spin this into like a negative. I'm saying in the Final War, I have a feeling that the setup phase will still be exciting, even if not a ton is going on chapter to chapter, because just seeing the characters that we're excited to see fight get moved into place to fight certain other characters, that will be exciting, right? There's a certain impact to a chapter where like Dragon gets set up to face off against Garling that is going to be a bit more exciting than a chapter where like Leo is set up to fight Jorah. JP, thanks for the 20, man. I really appreciate it. A character's purpose in the larger story needs to be justified after a certain amount of screen time. You can only follow side characters for so long without an indicator that the level of focus matters for more than an arc. Is this related to law? A character's purpose in the story needs to be justified after a certain amount of screen time. You can only follow side characters for so long without an indicator that the level of focus matters for more than an arc. I'm not sure. Are you talking about law here? Or are you talking about like the Grand Fleet members? I'm not sure which one you're talking about. Again, I'm good with how the Grand Fleet members were used in general. My main thing is just the process of the setting up of fights. I think everybody found that to be slow. Maybe not everybody, maybe not Dick So Small Piss on my Balls, but a lot of people, a lot of readership found that to be very slow while that was happening in Dressrosa. And I think that was, I think that's something that hopefully can be amended when we get to the Final War. You know what it is? I feel like this is something interesting. This is a side thing. If I'm thinking to other stories, so for example, my girlfriend is watching actually the Shibuya incident in Jujutsu Kaisen right now. She's following the Shibuya incident in Jujutsu Kaisen, and we're watching through that anime arc. And obviously, like One Piece has different strengths in Jujutsu Kaisen or whatever, right? But the Shibuya incident, the pace is always very fast. It's moving very fast. I think one thing that's interesting is that like with that, there's almost never a time that we stop and like get arrows of where everything is. That doesn't really happen. Instead, I noticed that what's fast about the pacing and the setting up of matchups there is that Geisha recognizes that there's not a need to spend so much time establishing where the characters are in between the points that they need to get to, right? You still get the dialogues and conversations and everything leading into the fight, but I think Oda feels the need, like if he's gonna have, let's say, a character get from like level 1 up to like level 4 or something, right? Then Oda feels the need to, like, let's say in Onigashima, level 1 to level 4, Oda feels like he needs to write a lot of panels, even dialogue-less panels. He feels like he needs to cut away to establish that character is currently moving from level 1 to level 4, and he feels the need to do that multiple times, to be like, okay, now they've progressed to level 2, now they've progressed to level 3, now they're here or whatever. He feels like he has to showcase in real time where everybody, he feels like he needs to freeze frame and showcase where everybody is in real time very frequently. And that makes for chapters that don't have a lot of like meaningful substance, but it's just like quick cuts to where everybody is currently physically at. That's not super necessary. In the Shibuya incident arc, you can follow everything that's currently happening and where everybody is without necessarily needing to freeze everything that's happening and then do quick recaps of where everybody physically is. or if characters have moved physically a little bit closer to one location than another. It's generally not necessary. You can establish where a character is headed at the end of one scene. You can establish or hint at what characters are coming at the start of a certain scene or whatever. And you can have like the meaningful dialogue and everything like that as set pieces begin or as we head into set pieces. But you don't, I think that's the biggest thing. You don't need to freeze. And it's not just Jujutsu Kaisen. Like there's other stories and other manga that have things going on at multiple times. You don't need to freeze everything and just spend like 70% of a chapter just recapping physical locations and how a certain character has moved as an inch here or inch there. I think I appreciate that Jujutsu Kaisen tends to let full scenes sort of play out to reach a certain crescendo before then cutting away to something else if necessary, letting a full thing play out, and then cut away to something else. I think the flow goes a little bit better there. Okay. Anyway. All right, everybody. Continuing on. Let's actually get to the thing. Oh, JP, you're saying you're agreeing with me? Yeah. That's why the Grand Fleet was a pain during Dressrosa. Everyone hated the Grand Fleet introductions during Dressrosa because it felt like they had no larger role. Yeah, in retrospect, I think we appreciated the Grand Fleet a lot more. I mean, at least I did. And I felt like there was a lot more of an aha after chapter 700 from the reader base, which was like, that's why we spent so much time with these guys. But it's hard for Oda to communicate that in advance, you know? All right. Let's get to One Piece 1129. Let's get to the main event. Let's get to it. How do I do this shit again? I always forget. Yeah, I think I found something. Make sure my dialogue is muted. All right. This is muted. All good. Wait, no. I should do display with facecam 2. All right. There we go. And I'm just going to go ahead and move this over. And what's the last thing I'm doing? Which says, Akash says, don't do the stream topic this week. Neither you nor Chad is in the mood for it now. Wait, you guys don't want to do the stream topic? Let's do a quick poll. Are we reacting? Do you want me to react to the episodes still? This would be episode 1129 and 1130. Let's just confirm that this is what the people do indeed want. All right, we're going. We're gonna do it. All right, we're gonna do it. All right, we're gonna do it. That's the first time I've seen that. Is 1130 not that exciting? Is that why people are feeling this way? Also, let's just pause real quick. All right, let's pause real quick. We're going to do another poll. Who remembers a couple weeks back when I was committed to cutting the hair? I decided that the hair experiment was over. Who remembers that? I now feel that there's a second wind coming. I think there's a second wind in terms of me potentially sticking with it. I think it's slowly coming together. I think it's slowly getting past that point. I think it's doable. I think we could pull it off. I think it's doable. I feel like we should throw that out there. Stormy says, I'd honestly rather debate all stream, but I'm fine with whatever. I cried so hard my throat hurt, probably because of what's to come. Okay. K Maya says, won't you have to change your thumbnail otherwise? Nah, I won't even bother. Don't worry about that. Or a Manscaped ad coming? Nah, this is separate from Manscaped. Although it is very difficult to shave, even with Manscaped's custom razor. No, Manscaped's razor makes it easier, but it is harder to shave with long hair because like getting the sides, it's a pain. We need braids, Morge? I don't know. Does that tread into some race things? I know there's a lot of controversy about braids. Jaren Ramos says, dude, just take the L. Oh, shit. I think it looks okay. I think it looks good. I think it's slowly looking good. I'm going to do a poll. Is the long hair looking good? There we go. All right. Desktop audio is muted. Yeah. I'm not going to turn down the opacity. So I'm making a sacrifice there. I think we can do it without the opacity. Okay, it's 50-50 split. Interesting. Stormy says, keep trucking along, you'll make it. Should have added an option better than before. Let's say yes means better than before. I don't know. Morianime says, what does Lady Morge think? She has said that I need to do more product type stuff to take care of it. Otherwise, it doesn't look good. But I don't want to do product type stuff. So I'm trying to see if I can get away without that. I don't know. I'm halfway there. I don't know. All right, everybody. All right. We're going to watch the episode. Wait, I would like, hold on. Alex Tibor says, bro, your college talk hyped me up so much. It's right now, late night. I'm in my dorm. Gotta lock in. I strongly encourage you, if you're in college, and you are a humanities major, if you're a STEM major, stick with what you're doing. But if you're in college and you are a humanities major, you have no excuse for not trying to work on something that could set you up for something that you genuinely want to do post-college. Because the way it works is if you're a humanities major is that you're going to pass, you're going to get your degree pretty much no matter what, as long as you don't, like, literally do nothing, right? As long as you check off the things you're supposed to check off, like, go do your tests, do your reports or whatever, you're going to be fine as a humanities major. That gives you a shit ton of other free time. Use it. Like, whatever that want to be. Like, it doesn't have to be like YouTube channel or content creation or whatever, but like if you have an idea for a side business or something you want to start growing, or like an outside skill that you want to work on that you could develop into a side business or something like that, or not business oriented at all, like fucking learn about stocks, learn something, like do something with your time, because this is the period of your life that you will have the most time. You have so much time, okay? Once you leave college, assuming that you are expected to you are just not going to have the same situation. You're not going to have the same situation. Even if you're in a situation where like your parents would hypothetically let you have a year off after college to stay at home, there's going to be pressure for you to get something going ASAP. And it is very hard to get something going ASAP that's not like a 9-to-5 job in under a year. It's very hard. But 4 years or 2, 3, 4 years, even 2 years, like that is a lot of time to do groundwork for something else that will set yourself up well in the future. If you want to do something that's not a 9-to-5 job. If you're a humanities major and you're like, well, I already know what I'm going to do after this. I'm going to go into law, or I'm going to go into whatever the fuck else, like some government type thing. You're already set on a career. Then you're fine. Don't worry about it. But if you desire to do something a little bit different or whatever, like an alternative type career, then you need to be working on that right then. Otherwise, you're going to have a very bleak, things aren't just going to click together right after college. You're going to have to really, really, like, that's going to be a very hazy and potentially difficult period of your life. Okay? Anyway, you already got him talking to avoid the episode, lol. I am gonna grab a quick, what is it? Canada Dry. I'm gonna grab one of those. I'll be right back. All right. Let's go. We need one pace, but for more live streams. You guys got me talking about too much stuff. It's the way it is. All right. So we're starting with episode 1129. Here, let me pin this. Here we go. Let the reaction begin. All right. I have to watch ads on this? Okay, good. Okay. Wait, you churls? Is that the correct translation? That's crazy. I mean, that's his captain. All right, here we go. Oh man, this is the first time we've had Kuma speak in God knows how long. All right. That was a lie. No. Okay, we're good. Akash, thanks for the two. Asked about Emu's face reveal now or for a more hype moment later. I feel like my guess is more like later. That's why Oda's having Emu fight through Gunko first. That's my feeling. Oh shit. Oh shit. The doctor didn't sell him out. I guess I forgot. Shit, this is a lot worse than the manga. Because the manga, this section flew by like fast. Oh shit. Yeah, manga all of this already took place in a page. This is gonna be rough to watch. Ah. The way they did the shot was really, 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 really good. I thought they were actually gonna let the scene like. I think the scene went by a little fast. The scene felt a little. I feel like the scene went by a little fast because everything else in his backstory they'd been extending. Sorry, extending. I thought that scene went by a little bit fast. But the way they did the shot was really, really, really good. If I hadn't read the manga, that would have been like crazy jarring. I think the shot and the after effect was a bit fast. Um, yeah, but that was creative. Toby Obito, thanks for the 5. You think Emu is using Gunko's body as a vessel because he's sealed in his room, or the actual sunlight hurts him? If he's this powerful, why hide? I don't know. I think that's a really good question. I wonder if there's some limitations to his powers or his abilities, or if he doesn't like getting his hands dirty himself because he considers himself above that. But if Marijua is on fire, as he says, then you would think that in that situation he would get involved. So we don't know what he's doing or what he's up to over there exactly. We have to see how strong he is too. Yeah, get him. Fuck him up. Fuck that guy. That'll teach him to try and ruin a healthy game. Trying to ruin a sport. Good. I don't like this design. I don't like this design. I would have liked the red hair, but I imagine Shanks' mom has the red hair or something then. That did feel good. No, I'm not a Celestial. I'm not like pro Celestials, but like they're just trying to have a game, and that guy was trying to ruin it. You know what I'm saying? That's just unsportsmanlike. Ugh. Fuck these other slaves. What the fuck? Well, actually, that's understandable. No, they should all try and run away. I don't know. It's complicated. When this chapter came out, everyone was like, this might be Luffy's mom. Yeah. Yeah. I think I'd have difficulty being cool with those other slaves that just tried to, like, drag me back. So I'd be like, maybe can we not take these ones back along? But, Kuma's probably more forgiving. Alright. Alright, solid start. Yeah, slaves escaping, it's gotta be all or nothing. Like, so either the whole group commits or it doesn't work. This might be Luffy's mom. Chris Morales is saying this might be Luffy's mom happens every time there's a new female character that could work age wise / timeline wise. Yeah, because we all want to know because it's just like Oda's keeping that so under wraps. All right. Fuck. Play. Oh, god damn it. It says we moved to a new site. Hold on. Let me do this. What's going on here? There we go. All right. It didn't fucking work. Oh no, it's gonna work. Give me a second. All right, now we're on to 11:30. So, this is so interesting. So the newer episodes, they don't do the whole long ass intro anymore, right? Like they don't do the like I remember the previous One Piece episodes in the past they would do some really long intro explaining something like before it was about Gold Roger, then it became about the New World or whatever. Then you'd have like the really long recap explaining every little thing that's happened or whatever. I like this feel. Like it feels more polished. Just intro, get in the episode, or get in the episode intro. I like this feel. It feels very different. It just feels more polished as a product. It feels less janky and like trying to extend time. And the pacing for these episodes so far feels natural. Like I'm not gonna say it's quite as fast as like. Again, uh, my girlfriend's watching Jujutsu Kaisen at the same time, so I can kind of I'm seeing a point of comparison here. Like that's obviously faster, but this still feels like a normal pace. Like it doesn't feel like a weirdly paced anime. At least the last episode didn't feel like that to me. It feels like a normal pace pretty much. Like maybe 90% the speed of a Jujutsu Kaisen episode or something like that, which is still pretty good. All right. Jolly D Joester says because they have an ending now. But can't they just BS some? Couldn't they just BS endings before or something? Were endings really the problem? Um, Drink water. Thanks for the 5. Wouldn't it be wild if Luffy's mom is a slave in the Holy Land right now and Dragon is on the move? Damn. And then people would be like, Dragon, why didn't you free Ginny? And Dragon would just be like, you know how low Ginny is on my list of priorities? Like, like that's not even my main, like, what the... That'd be crazy if Dragon's mom is a slave right now. Or Luffy's mom is a slave. I can't even imagine that being the case. Oh shit, they're adding some interesting content. This is cool. Oh my god. Oh shit. Is he gonna see his dad's death again? Alright, well, this is... I'll resist the urge to skip ahead. Remember when I said that One Piece didn't do recaps? This is... Alright, it's not a recap. Obviously, they have to animate all that. Felt a little bit like a recap, though. I wonder what makes the other ones super rare rabbits. Because Kuma's a buccaneer. Would I be a rare rabbit or a normal rabbit? And then would I feel offended if I wasn't a super rare rabbit? I'd probably be a normal rabbit. That's probably better, because then you're less likely to be chased after. Hmm. All right. This is making me revisit that whole storyline. Treasure from Pirate Island got stolen. But why would the Celestial Dragons have it? Oh, I guess they'd have it as a reward for the hunting competition or something? So it's probably a devil fruit, right? Some sort of devil fruit got taken. The competition's 3 weeks. Forgot about that. He's my favorite player. Like, if this was the NBA, I'd be a fan of him. He's like the Michael Jordan of this, or the LeBron James of this, whatever you want to say. I think it's because it's taking place in the past. You would say he's the Michael Jordan of this, of these hunting competitions. I wonder if other Celestial Dragons have like Garling jerseys. The Wilt? Yeah. No, the Gorosei are like Wilt, Bill Russell, Kareem. Garling's like Jordan. Maybe Shamrock's like. Maybe they don't play the game anymore, but maybe Shamrock would be like LeBron. All right, here we go. I already saw a still image of all the Rocks pirates with people comparing it to the manga. I need to see it in action. Man, I can't wait to see Rocks in the story. Rocks, Dragon, Emu, Garling, Shamrock are the ones I want to see fight the most. Oh, here we go. This is why people were saying that maybe she's Nami's mom. That's such a busted crew. What an absurd crew. This is so sick. If I was an anime only viewer, I'd be like freaking out right now. It's still cool. Man, I cannot wait. There's so many cool things left to see in One Piece. Like just seeing God Valley animated is, or like, you know, the in the manga obviously first, but then seeing it in the anime is gonna be amazing. No, I don't like that. Hold on, hold on. I don't like that. Hold on. Hold on a second. I don't think that's accurate. Hold on. Let me double check this. Man, it's not loading for me for some reason. I don't think this was Roger's attitude heading into the fight. I might be misremembering, but I remember his face was more like hmm. I guess it's accurate. It seemed a bit more here, let me show you guys comparison. Let me show you guys point of comparison. In the manga, maybe I'm misinterpreting this, but in the manga his face I'll switch views in a second. Here we go. It does look like it could be a grin, but it doesn't look like a grin as much to me, especially when you're associating it with his dialogue. It's been a whole year. Do you have any idea how I felt this whole time? So his dialogue implies some level of like regret or anger about this situation. To me, his face, you guys might disagree, but to me, when I saw his face here, like, just looking at his expression, like his eyebrows and everything like that, maybe it's meant to be ambiguous, but it doesn't seem like an excited grin. It seems like he's actually kind of serious and a little bit pissed about this. I feel that's what I get from this. Whereas with the anime, it seemed more like just gonna play this for a second. In the anime, it seems more like an excited sort of smile and a sort of excited attitude, like kind of like grinning, happy, eager, excited. I feel like it. I don't know. I think that's a different type of vibe than was implied in the manga, unless I just misinterpreted that face from the manga. Maybe I'm latching onto this a little bit just because I remember in the manga, I thought it was cool that that was the first time that we were seeing Roger not just like happy, jolly, goofy, cheery. Like even when he had his run-in with Whitebeard during the Odin flashback, like he was all grins and smiles. But in the manga, I felt like the Rocks flashback was the first time that he was kind of like a little bit more serious side of him. But I might be wrong. What do you guys feel about the manga panel? Same face? Not look pissed, just excited? Okay, I guess that's fine. I guess that's fine. I might have just misinterpreted the expression in the manga. Hold on, let me make sure that this is the correct thing. Yeah. Akasha asked this before, but End of Story Strats or Rocks Pirates? I'd still think End of Story Rocks Pirates would take it because I think just the quantity is too much. I think there's too many. I think at the top, Luffy, Zoro, Sanji would take the top three of the Rocks Pirates. Considering Whitebeard not quite prime yet. Big Mom, I think probably not quite prime yet, right? Um, Still got Shiki, young Kaido, stuff like that. So Strats should, and I think Luffy end of story is going to be stronger than Rocks, right? So I think at the top, the Strats probably take it. Similar to how I personally wouldn't be surprised if no, I'm not going to say that's going to start a controversy. So I think at the top, I imagine the Strats are stronger, but I think across the board, I feel like when you're getting through the Rocks Pirates, it's like their like fifth or sixth strongest might be, like uh fucking the an Amazon Lily Empress, right? So like that era's Boa Hancock. Or like Wang Ji, who became the new ruler of Pirate Island, Like they just go so deep. I don't think like with the Straw Hats, like, Brooke, Chopper, those guys are gonna reach those heights. I think the full Rocks Pirates crew would be maybe too much for the Strats to handle. Um, that was kind of the point of the Rocks Pirates, which is that like they were all A-list pirates, right? So when you're all like that and you're all working on a somewhat similar playing field or something, there's no sense of order or command. Whereas with the Strats, there's more of a sort of Luffy at the top, right and left, and then you've got everybody else filling out their roles, right? If everybody was like monster trio-ish level, then the Strats don't function because then everybody it just doesn't work. It doesn't work. Everybody's too on the same playing field, right? There's not a sense of hierarchy to command and everything, right? Not that the Strats command each other by strength, but like um, there is a sort of like standings that they all have in terms of like here's what I can do, here's what you can do, etc. Like if Nami was as strong as Zoro and Sanji, and then you combine that with Nami's personality of like wanting her way, then that creates complications. Like like same with like a lot of the Straw Hats, I think in general, like you can't have them all be that strong. Whereas with the Rock, and that's kind of the point of the Rocks Pirates, which is that it just doesn't work when you've got like so many like Conqueror's Haki type users all together or whatever, right? That being said, if you were to combine the Straw Hats end of story plus their allies, like, okay, what are the Strats allowed to bring to the table? Are they just allowed to bring their core crew? I think they probably lose to end of story Rocks Pirates, or end of story Strats to lose to Rocks Pirates. But if they're allowed to bring Grand Fleet plus call upon allies, the way that like Whitebeard was allowed to call upon allies from Marineford, then I think they take the Rocks Pirates for sure. Why is Garp getting the coolest entrance? Maybe not the coolest entrance, but still, it's cool. By the way, this is why I view things like Sabo running away from the Gorosei. Those aren't feats. They're never meant to be feats in the story. It's just like Oda needs this character to get away, right? Like Beppo getting away from Blackbeard and Van Augur doesn't. It's not like some crazy speed feat. Fucking, this is Big Mom in the prime of her youth, right? And like fucking 10-year-old Kuma with zero hockey, any special abilities or any fruit or anything like that, he still successfully runs away from her. Yeah, Ivankov's grabbing Big Mom's leg, but it's like Ivankov's also just like a helpless little child, right? Like logically, Big Mom should easily have been able to like blitz Kuma, grab the fruit. That's obviously what should have happened. But story-wise, Oda needs Kuma to get away, so he's gonna run away. That's not like a feat. No, you're not supposed to fucking power scale 10-year-old Kuma to Big Mom right there and be like, oh, actually, so that means like 10-year-old Kuma basically had Yonko level, even before he ate his fruit, he had Yonko level speed feats. No. Whenever characters fucking run away in One Piece, there's no fucking speed feat involved. It's never a feat. It's not a thing. Maybe there's some point in the story if it's like explicitly established to be that sort of situation, but most of the time Oda just needs character A to be able to get away from situation. That's all that really matters. I really like the dialogue that comes here. Yeah. Drinkwater Peg D's League says Toei removed Black Lightning from Garp's fist. Yeah, I wonder why. Oh gosh, I missed this. Give me a second. Yeah, why'd Toei remove that? It was cool, and it added the hype of God Valley. I think the anime adapted this episode solidly. Like, so I think with the One Piece anime, it's kind of started to set a high bar for itself where like for any episode or any chapters or scenes that are like really epic in the manga, the anime elevates that even higher. So I don't think it really did that with the God Valley scene. I think it did basically what you would expect, but I think it did stuff in a cool way. Like I think it introduced the Rocks Pirates in a cool way. The missing Hockey Lightning from Garp is odd because you know they don't have anything against Garp based on what they did with Garp's Galaxy Impact is to date. If you were an anime only viewer, then to date you would believe that Garp's Galaxy Impact is the strongest move in One Piece. Like if you just took at face value what is happening in the anime, you'd just be like, wait, so this dude could just shoot nukes from his fist? Anyway. It is odd that they just didn't do that, but like, I don't know, cut corners in some spots. It's crazy that Ginny's so much smaller. Since I'm 4 years older than you, I have to feed you. Akash Panda, thanks for the 2. Luffy, Zoro, and Sanji may take more than one character, like Rocks plus Shiki. Yeah, I think it just depends, because like, I think end of story, Luffy and Rocks would still be like a Luffy solo fight. So then it kind of depends on like I don't know, like, if Whitebeard at that point in time, I think we'll need to see how strong they were during the flashback. Because, like, if young Whitebeard was, like, 80 or 90% of his final level, right? Or let's say 80% of what he's going to finally be, then I think that's still. I think. I'll just say this real quick. So I think from the few bits and pieces of flashbacks that we're getting, I feel like young Whitebeard. I feel like Whitebeard may have been the number 2 strongest on the Rocks Pirates, and he was still established to not be at his full strength. I think that Whitebeard was seemingly the number 2. We saw him as kind of like at Rox's side during the Loki flashback. Based on the dialogue all of the Rox members had as they exited the ship, it sounded like Whitebeard was the one who challenged Rox directly the most and was like, fuck you to the captain. And then like the others were like, hey, don't act like you're in charge to Whitebeard. And then it seemed like the women of the crew were like particularly drawn to Whitebeard. So it just seemed like Whitebeard was being given a bit more of the spotlight, even amongst that motley crew. I might be wrong. We got to wait for the flashback. So, but I wouldn't be surprised, and based on age-wise, right? Whitebeard was younger than Roger, but not by that huge amount. So I wouldn't be surprised if Whitebeard was like, not as at his full strength yet, but not like far, far away. You know what I'm saying? So maybe it's like, if Whitebeard was like, I don't know, 80% or 90% of the way there, if he's already, I'd say the simple thing is this. If Whitebeard's already at the point where, like, he doesn't really consider Rox to be above him, then I don't think he's, like, far off from Rox. You know what I mean? Because, like, generally in these sort of pirate crews, like, the boss is so much stronger than the number 2 that, like, there's no hope. Like, King would never shit-talk Kaido, right? Katakuri would never shit-talk Big Mom or whatever. If a first mate or, like, number 2 person is in a position to kind of, like, should talk the captain somewhat and not expect like a beatdown, that suggests to me that Whitebeard wasn't that far off from Rox yet. But we'll have to wait and see. It just depends what level these characters were at. Like Kaido, it seems like was far from his final level during God Valley, right? Big Mom was probably closer. Whitebeard was, I think, probably closer. So with that in mind, I would say like, if just Whitebeard and Big Mom are 80 to 90% of themselves, then I think Zoro and Sanji both would have. Let's pretend for the sake of argument that Sanji can fight Big Mom. This is a hypothetical, right? Sanji can, like, the no woman thing is off, right? If that was the case, then like I think that if they're at 80 to 90% of themselves, then I think then Zoro and Sanji still have like a decently high difficulty fight on their hands. Because you could debate for days whether End of Story Zoro can defeat Whitebeard, like Prime Whitebeard or whatever, right? But you can debate however, whatever. But even at the most generous that you consider End of Story Zoro to be, I think you would still agree that like Whitebeard that is 80 to 90% of what he's finally going to be would still be like a high difficulty fight for Zoro, right? End of story, right? Even if you think like 100% Whitebeard, End of story Zoro, that's like an extreme diff win for Zoro or something, then a Whitebeard that's still like in the realm of becoming the final version of Whitebeard, I think that would still be a challenge for Zoro. I think same for like Big Mom to Sanji. Like again, even if you think like End of story Sanji versus Big Mom, Sanji is just stronger, that's fine, but you probably still think it's like close, right? Like you don't think there's probably a huge gap. So I don't think like Zoro or Sanji, I don't think Luffy, Zoro, and Sanji would be in such positions where they can afford to take on like rocks. Like Luffy, I don't think Luffy could take on like rocks plus like other rocks pirates. I don't think Zoro would be in a situation where he could take on like Whitebeard plus other rocks pirates. I don't think Sanji could take on like whoever, Big Mom in this hypothetical, plus other rocks pirates. I think it would be very difficult. And it's just, yeah, the rest of the rocks cast is like pretty fucking stacked, right? Like, again, Gloriosa is an Amazon Lily Emperor. Like, Wang Ji is like a fucking, what do you call? he ruled Hachinosu for a long time, right? So like he probably wasn't too far off from the Yonko during the Great Pirate Age until Blackbeard managed, because he got to rule the most prominent pirate island, right? Until Blackbeard and his crew needed assistance. Remember, it was the whole Rocky Port incident that it took them to take down Wang Ji, right? And then you've got like Shiki from that era, like prime or close to prime Shiki on Rock's Pirates crew, right? Like, I don't think you could casually, like, put it this way. I don't think, like, Zoro could take on Whitebeard plus Shiki. I don't think Sanji could take on, like, Big Mom plus Shiki, right? But on the other hand, I think Shiki could probably take down a shit ton of the other Straw Hats in the meantime, while the Monster Trio are doing their job against the top trio of the Rocks Pirates. But with all of that being said, we don't know how strong the end of story Straw Hats will be. Maybe I'm underestimating them. And we don't know how strong the Rocks Pirates were at that point in time. We need the flashback to get a better idea. But that's just my thought off the top of my head. Jolly Joestar says, I'm curious if Roger or someone saves Kuma there. I don't know. I don't think Kuma would have needed to be saved because, like, he has the fruit, so he can teleport away, right? Once he's got the fruit, you can't really catch him. Drink water, Peg D's leg. Thanks for the 5. Maybe because other crews don't have that Black Lightning drawn, so it wouldn't be fair, I guess. Oh, that's actually a good point. They're like, we don't want to hype Garp for when we're not hyping everybody else. Oh, this is going to be rough, getting all these nice characterization moments for Ginny before that death chapter. This is so fucking sweet. All right, I might not watch another anime episode till Kuma's backstory is done, because I think getting the full flow of it is really going to be powerful. I'm not sure. I'll see if people are really gushing about a certain episode, maybe I'll watch that. Akash, thanks for the 5. Sengoku described a hypothetical Kaido Big Mom alliance as the worst pirate crew in history. Chapter 957 gives us a ceiling for Rocks Pirates members far from Prime. Yeah, that's also true. Let me check that translation again. Let's see. That's a good point. It's arguable that that's including the totality of like all the. I mean, it would be including the totality of all the Big Mom pirates and the Beast pirates. But that does give a nice ceiling. Let's see. If Kaido, hold on. So he says that. Hold on. Kaido and Big Mom indeed formed an alliance. Their total combined bounty will easily surpass those. Where does Sengoku say that it'll be the worst? I remember what you're saying vaguely. Hold on. So 957. He says. Can you point me to when he says it? Is it after the bounties? Blah, 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 blah. Their collection. Yada, yada. Big Mom and Kaido. Yada, yada. Okay, Kaido and Big Mom. Oh, okay, here we go. Then it's the birth of the most. No, it says then it's the birth of the most dangerous pirate crew in the world, but not in history, unless there's a different translation. You got another translation for me? Because it says, but 38 years ago, they were nothing like they are now. If this alliance is true, then it's the birth of the most dangerous pirate crew in the world, not in history. Do you have another translation that says it would be in history? I'm seeing in the world. That's just what I'm seeing with the translations I'm reading. But that would be, if that is the case, then that would give us a cap. That'd give us a solid cap. Oh. Shit. Okay, I'll see how people react to the future episodes, but I'm leaning towards I want to just watch all of it in one go. But maybe I'll want to watch the Ginny episode when it comes out. I don't know. Oh, man. Because now I'm imagining if I watch this episode and then the next few episodes through Ginny's, like the next 2 episodes that would cover, if I watched it all in one flow, this, then the in-between episode, and then the episode where Ginny dies, I think that would be really, really powerful. I think getting it broken up between weeks might not hit me as hard. Although I'll have to see what the anime does. Yeah. Gosh is saying most dangerous in the world, not history. Yeah, I think, I don't know. I think we're just going to have to wait in, no worries, man. I think we're just going to have to wait till the Rocks Pirates, the God Valley flashback to get some sense of, like, how close Whitebeard, how close in general all the characters were to their best selves, right? Because again, yeah, like, I think I imagine end of story Luffy would still go high difficulty with Rocks, so I don't think he can just be fighting Rocks and other people at the same time. I think end of story Zoro, even against like a Whitebeard, like 80 to 90% Whitebeard, I think that would still be a fight where Zoro has to, like, he has to be fighting Whitebeard. He can't be fighting multiple people at the same time. Same with Sanji versus Big Mom, maybe even Sanji versus Shiki or something like that, whatever you think. And then, yeah, beyond that, you just got, like, either a Big Mom or Shiki on the loose. You've got, like, Wang Ji in his prime. You've got fucking Gloriosa, Amazon Lily Empress in her prime. It's just, I think it might be, you've got young Kaido running around. I think that's just going to be too much for, and then more, you know, that's just not even it. You got more. I just feel like that would be too much for the end of story Straw Hats. But I don't know. I just don't think it'd be a situation where, like, Zoro and Sanji and Luffy would be allowed to take on, like, multiples of the Straw of them or something. Maybe like Stussy, like maybe Luffy could beat up Rocks while taking a moment to dispose of Stussy or something, but then that still leaves like at least some combination of like Shiki and or Big Mom, young Kaido, Wang Ji, Gloriosa, stuff like that running around. Fucking Captain John or whoever. I think it's maybe too much. Silver Axe. All right. Oof says, I hate that hockey blooms are literally becoming as cliche as Super Saiyan Awakenings. I disagree. I think as long as they're done well, it's all good. Because, like, we all like anime power. Like, power-ups that happen in the midst of a fight are really, really cool. Like, really, really strong. Like, if you're saying, like, oh no, hockey blooms are becoming as, like, they're becoming similar to the greatest power-up moments in anime and manga, like Super Saiyan 1, Super Saiyan 2. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. If anything, the Super Saiyan transformations that are like of the Super Saiyan transformations, at least the initial moment, because it's something that was something Goku trained on in the back and then came out with later on, you know? Whereas Super Saiyan 1, iconic, Super Saiyan 2, iconic. I think a lot of us like watching these fictional stories and seeing these power-ups take place through significant dramatic events that push characters into an emotional state that they're forced to grow, and then that growth in the moment is rewarded or reflected in them actually becoming more powerful, becoming a greater version of themselves in that moment via power-up. I think that's really, really good. I think that's really cool. I think moments that it's not cool are like when there's just not that much like I think a lot of it depends on like how dramatically the moment is written, if that makes sense. So like I think that's what it comes down to, but I don't think there's any problem with that cliche. I think it comes down to how dramatically that moment is written. My favorite chapter in Dressrosa to this date is still Usopp awakening observation haki. I think it was the culmination of all of his writing from that arc. And it was just such a cool internal monologue and sense of self-reflection for the character that was very, very rare. And then it turned into this sort of like eureka moment where he began to tap into this other side of himself and tap into something that like was his true potential as a person, and therefore in terms it's reflected in him tapping into his true potential as his abilities. Like I like that moment a lot. I don't think there's anything wrong with Haki Blooms. I think that that's one of the best things Oda could have come up with in the story, actually, that like Haki can only really truly bloom through battle. Like you know, I just think that's more dramatic. I like that shit. I mean, that's just me. Drinkwater, Peg, D-Zleg, thanks for the 5. Still bugs me that Zoro told Luffy to take the New World seriously in Punk Hazard and then just stalls Lucci till Sanji triggered him. Yeah, I think things that Oda doesn't consider, like... I don't think Oda's thinking about that moment back in Punk Hazard when he's writing this moment here in Egghead. It's just like what needs to happen for the plot or whatever, you know? I don't know. The Zoro Lucci situation, by the way, is a good example of what I would say like Zoro Whitebeard or something. Again, even if you think Zoro is solidly stronger than like an 80 to 90% strength Whitebeard end of story, it would still probably be the same level of difficulty as like Lucci, meaning that Zoro probably doesn't have time to be distracted doing other stuff. So, yeah. All right, everybody. I'm enjoying the episodes. I don't think there's anything crazy crazy next level that the anime has done with these 2 episodes, but I do appreciate that the pace feels good. I do think that they're doing the emotion well. Visually, Egghead remains a treat. I like a lot of the scene direction choices. Yeah, it doesn't feel like anything drags too long. There aren't really spots that they do some crazy animated fights or anything like that. I was wondering if they'd spruce it up a bit for God Valley, but they didn't feel the need to. That's okay. And yeah, just I like the episodes, and I like that they don't take a long time to get into or anything. They don't have a bunch of fluff or anything. I feel like I am not going to react to the next episode. If people are really gushing about the Ginny episode, I might react to that when that comes out, the one where she dies. But if they don't, then I'll probably just binge the rest of Kuma's backstory all in one go. I think that's probably what I'll do. Plus, Del says Lucci relative to young Whitebeard. No. I'm saying in terms of difficulty. Like, if we're saying end of story Zoro versus like young, like end of story Zoro versus young Whitebeard is what we're kind of comparing here, right? So end of story Zoro to young Whitebeard is what I'm saying current Zoro to current Lucci may kind of be like, right? Where I imagine end of story Zoro would be stronger than like slightly pre-prime Whitebeard, probably. Hell, we don't even know if, do you think, was God Valley Whitebeard equal to Marineford Whitebeard? That's actually possible. Like, you can't really, we need a better idea of what everybody was like at God Valley. It's totally possible that, like, Whitebeard was already at his Marineford level at that point. In which case, I do think End of Story Zoro would... End of Story Zoro versus Marineford Whitebeard, however you want to debate it or whatever, right? I'm saying at the bare minimum, like, it would probably take as much difficulty as Zoro had fighting Lucci. Basically meaning it would take some time, and Zoro wouldn't have the freedom to be taking on other characters at the same time. That's all I'm saying. Does that make sense? I don't think you guys are understanding. It's no. I explained it terribly. Maybe I wasn't explaining where my mind was. I'm saying the gap between Lucci and Zoro right now might be similar to like the gap of like God Valley Whitebeard to End of Story Zoro, maybe something like that. It's very baseless, but I'm saying like even if you like, I think a lot of people think Zoro is solidly stronger than Lucci right now. So I'm saying even if you were that generous with End of Story Zoro versus like God Valley Whitebeard, it would still be a situation where Zoro has to devote his attention to his opponent, right? Meaning that other Rocks Pirates members, Zoro can't be picking them off at the same time. 00Flevins, thanks for the 2. Ginny dies. I'm sorry to spoil it for you. And on that note, I think I will conclude it. DJ Lindo says End of Story Zoro will be stronger, if not equal, than Prime Whitebeard. I think that's in the realm of possibility. Even if we are that generous with End of Story Zoro, I'm saying that he would still not just mop the floor with God Valley level Whitebeard, right? It would still be a la Zoro versus Lucci. It would still be a fight where he needs to be engaged, and it might take some time. You see what I'm saying? Ergo, Zoro can't be getting into 2v1s or 3v1s in that sort of situation. Meaning, the Rocks Pirates, I think, still would be picking off weaker Strahd Pirates at the same time. All right, guys. We're going to call it here. Thanks for tuning in. These were fun episodes to watch. I'll play it by ear